This is actually the first big city council we've had since, what was the last one we had that all these people? We had one that, no, we had one where you also had to bring out chairs, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was regarding, I remember now. Reaching this. I don't know if you noticed, but we have beat, I actually asked Darla about this. We have beat Rockport, Ingleside, and Ramsey Pass this month and last month. So it is, I mean, like I said, and Ramsey Pass at the moment low. Rockport has like 8,000, 9,000 people, and it has the one rate. So we are
Brandon was ready
now.
Yeah.
Now the flip side is, well, part of the reason, but we also have Gulf Copper is a big. Yeah, but it's like the marina. It's like nothing.
We're going to call our meeting to order. And first on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chief, you gonna do the prayer?
Would y'all please join in giving thanks to the Lord? God of justice and mercy, thank you for the recent rains, the gift of life, and the opportunity to serve the people of Port Aransas. Help us to act with conviction without compromising our integrity. Help us to listen with understanding without compromising our sense of duty. Help us to speak with clarity without compromising our respect for others. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. We ask that you renew us with the strength of your presence and to walk with us to be the community of servants worthy of your blessing. We ask that you watch over those that watch over us, both here and abroad. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. Okay, item number 3 is the public hearing. The council will conduct a public hearing on the following. Final plat 21-1666, a plat of Cinnamon Shore South, Unit 3, Block 1, lots 1R through 9R. 0.7459 acres, being a replat of Lot 2, Block 1, Cinnamon Shore South 3, part of Cinnamon Shore 2 PUD. A map of which is recorded in volume pages through so-and-so maps, records of Nueces County, Texas. The applicant is Mustang Island Development Incorporated. Property location is 5800 Highway 361. The next one is final plat 21-1671, a plat of Cinnamon Shore South Unit 5, part of Cinnamon Shore 2 PUD, a 41.08 acre tract, being a replat of lots 9 through 11, Mustang Island, map of which is recorded in volume 38, page 130 and 131 of the map records of Nueces County, Texas. The applicant is Mustang Island Development Incorporated. Property location is 5800 Highway 361. The next one is amendments to the City of Port Aransas Code of Ordinances, Chapter 25, zoning, Chapter 21, subdivisions, and Chapter 14, mobile home and mobile home parks. Possible discussion includes but may not be limited to density, lot size, dimension, cottage unit developments, neighborhood unit developments, PUDs or planned unit developments, RV parks, mobile home parks, accessory dwelling units, and height restrictions. First thing on our agenda after that is item number 4. I'd like to welcome and introduce our new game warden, Ben Baker.
Mayor, he got called out, so both of those items under presentations are, you did one earlier today, the second one, and then the first one had to,
All
he's gonna have to
moving on
rebook.
Item 5, citizen comments and reports. Geez. Okay, let's do this as quickly as we can. Susanna Reeder. Susanna? You have comments?
I just wanted to address the RV park situation, and
You have to have your name and
Oh.
address.
okay, thank you very much. Susanna Reeder, 1630 South Station Street, Port Aransas. And I'm not abreast exactly what you're thinking about with the RV parks, but I do want to say that the parks are run with a park host. And I know we have one, a new one, and we're still working on it. And the park host keeps it all quiet and calm. And I know so much of this short-term rental is bothering other people. And it seems like that if there was just more oversight on what was going on in all the various places, we're concentrated. Condos are concentrated. The short-term rental property managers are 300 and 400 units scattered everywhere. So I know it's a terrible burden on the police because that's their only choice for the neighbors. But I know that the RV parks are not really a part of this problem. And I know a lot of money has to go into them now if you're putting in concrete streets and everything. And so we have to have short-term rentals in there. I know we have half of our park now is long-term. We were only required to do 8 spaces, but we're trying to meet the demands, but we can't be limited. And I know some people, I know you don't want to curtail people's business efforts. So that's what I'm going to say.
Thank you.
and just so everyone knows, we'll have a 3-minute speaking period for everyone. Thank you. Test.
Yeah, you just have to speak into
Yeah,
it.
just get real close to the mic
Or
if you
pull it
can.
down.
Thank you.
Chief Pearls.
Good evening, council, citizens. I'm Scott Burrows, your police chief, 705 West Avenue A. We've got 2 topics tonight I'd like to discuss. The first one is a shameless plug for our upcoming foundation fishing tournament, the 14th of August, PortAransasPoliceFoundation.org. If any of y'all would like to fish in it, all the proceeds go to the Police Foundation. The other item that I'd like to speak with tonight is to introduce our newest officer. John is going to come over here. This is Senior Officer John Aberry. He comes to us from Rock Springs, most recently a community outside of Dallas. Has has 29 years of police experience as a master peace officer. I think he's going to be an immediate contributor to our department.
Welcome.
Excellent.
Welcome aboard.
Absolutely. Thanks, sir.
Were you the one that pulled me over there?
Probably.
Michael Amos.
Hi, guys, neighbors. Michael Amos, 625 East Street. And I'm not fully abreast. Y'all are the experts. I live here, just like you guys. And I would, one team, one dream. I really feel like we're all on the same page here. We don't all have the same job, and I have a deep respect for that. All right? It's easy for me to comment. I would come up here as your friend and as your neighbor and just say, we've got to keep our perspective. Rodeo Drive. Raise your hand if you've been to Rodeo Drive. Anybody up here? Rodeo? Okay. It's really crowded. Didn't start out like that. And I'm just here to remind you, I patronize you, wouldn't dream of it. But, it always helps to have a buddy system and a side perspective. However many 100 years ago, there was no passenger pigeon. We have something sacrosanct here. I'd love to be able to use these words. And again, in the friendly neighborhood reminder spirit, the decisions that you guys have to make are going to unfold like for hundreds more years until we're underwater, depending upon the best hard science available, right? There's a spot in Lorenzo. Won't get into that. You get the idea. A sense of perspective and reverence for what we have here. I'm probably running over here. Is that my ding?
No, you got a minute and a half.
Oh, good. So there I was. Sorry. I was on Facebook the other day, and I'm not beating up on anybody, right? I just got a dog, Buddy. Love. Mom's even more in love. She defends Buddy against me. And there was a stream of conversation about them yotes, right? Coyotes. And I just know my pop would have chimed in there had he had a mind to be on social media. And had he a mind. He's flat out all of that right now. So, and it was just this, this really, and again, it's fear-based. It's the unknown. You came down here, however long you stay throughout the year, to be in nature. And I made this note. I know we're barbs, very respectful, but, just don't forget why you came down here, y'all, right? You came down here to be in nature. Don't then assume you don't have the responsibility to steward it. And again, I don't feel like I'm preaching to the choir right here. So that's it. Nothing too technical. Probably density is not a good thing. And good luck managing it. Right? Thank you.
Thank you. Pat? There you go. I was looking for you.
I'm here. Greetings. Good evening. Pat Kuklenberg, 410 Mercer. And again, I never know exactly how to approach this. I don't want to say I request, but I would like to see less short-term rentals, maybe a cap on them, a cap on the golf carts. At least perhaps a 90-day hold on any new building, at least until we get our new planner, because I understood from PNC that we'll be having a additional person that's going to be working on this. And there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. I would like to see if the city engineer could present a presentation on the impervious coverage, which is known as the impermeable surface in y'all's ordinances. And its drainage and how it fits into his calculations on the drainage plan. I would sure like to revisit the Freeze and Nickel study on the stormwater management and the stormwater management and ordinance that was never acted on. I took a little drive before I got over here, and there's still lots of areas that are still underwater. I'm sure everybody's got soggy gardens, dead tomato plants. The infrastructure of the city currently cannot serve our city. I've seen EMS people blocked by cars. They leave their vehicle in the street and then they go in to accommodate the person in need. Our police force is unable to enforce codes that are being broken. I happen to be buddies with my trash guy, my sanitation man. As he comes into the city, he services 2 neighborhoods. He has 10 tons of garbage. He turns around, goes out to Robstown, dumps, and comes back in to service the rest of us. He does the best he can, and I believe it. Moving right along here. Congestion and density. The city website needs to be updated. I don't know whose job that is. And if they could make it more user-friendly, that would be awesome. And I would just like to ask for a show of hands of anybody in this room that might have the same concerns as myself. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Barney Farley.
Here's my timer.
Right.
It'd be
I'll
real
give you-
easy to put a timer on that screen. Right? Maybe not right now. And,
Just lost 15 seconds.
yeah, no. And, okay, yeah, this is SDRville. I live at 410 East White, Barney Farley. Across the street from me, and maybe 100 feet from my corner of my lot, we're fixing to have a blessing of three-story STRs. I'm pretty sure that's what's going in there. If you want to know what that looks like, then you go to Station Street and Oaks, and you'll see what it is. I'm sure that's what we're getting there. That's a neighborhood. That my side of the street is R1. The other side is R2. Therefore, they could legally put those in there. That's a neighborhood. There's a trailer park here, but the rest of it is residential, and it's being used residentially. So basically, that's a neighborhood, and you go down Mercer and Laurel to Roberts. That neighborhood is basically intact except for what's happening on Station Street. Okay, when those places open up on the other side of White Street, there's going to be an increase in traffic there. What do we got? 10 people and 4 or 5 cars and some golf carts per house. And where's that traffic going? Well, White Street, that corner where it hits Station, that's a bad corner anyway. You can't see left or right. People turn the corner there, they cut it. So if you're pulling up to the stop sign on your bicycle, people will come right here, cutting that corner, and you can't see anything. Okay. Plus people park on the street right there, and it's a bunch because there's a lot of trailers there, so there's a lot of people. I understand they're going to build a parking lot. Anyway, that traffic and everything, that traffic's going right down White Street, and it's going to go down Laurel, and it's going to go down Mercer. It's going to go right in front of my house. It's going to be in our neighborhood where we've been unmolested for over 100 years. I don't want to get all frothy and emotional here, but there's something wrong with that. And I don't know that we can put the stop on that particular thing. If we can, we're going to do it. Maybe compromise with the owner and get him to build a house that meets the new rules that are going to go in. I don't know. That to me, that's disrespect for the neighborhood. The place on Station and Oaks is a disrespect to the Mercer Cemetery, which has been there a long time. And I'd like to see this disrespect stop. We have a city here, we have traditions, we have a heritage, and it's being stomped on. And let's do something about it right now.
Ward Richter.
Hello, my name is Ward Richter, and my wife and I reside at 649 Gage Way. I'm here to speak about ADU vacation rentals. My wife and I have been coming here since 1998. My wife and kids, we've been staying at Pioneer RV Park. Eventually, we had a rig and we left it year round. We loved it here so much, we left the rig here. This was our home away from home in an RV. We just loved it so much. Around 2012, we wondered, why are we throwing all of our money away in an RV and a lease space? We need to do something about that. So we thought, we need to build a home or buy a home, but we needed some additional income to help pay for taxes and insurance. And I know you all know about taxes and insurance. They're getting out of hand. So back in 2016, we built the house with an ADU that we were going to use as a vacation rental. The ADU is marketed on Airbnb. We currently have 150 reviews with a 4.99 star rating out of 5. It's very nice. We really take care of it, and we're proud of what we have to offer in our residents. We reside in the main house. The main house is not rented out. Typical guest is a couple or a young couple with kids. We have one vehicle in the driveway besides ours, and maybe one golf cart. The vacation rental next door sleeps 10 to 12 people, and there's 4 to 5 vehicles and 4 to 5 golf carts. The guests there at that rental are up till 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a radio blasting. There's lots of noise. Our ADU vacation rental does not cause a problem. We've never had the police called out. They're usually in bed by 9. If they're up later in the hot tub, it's nice, it's quiet, it's relaxing. We need this additional income to remain a resident here in Port Aransas. We love it here. In fact, I got the Port Aransas tattoo on my foot, the flip-flop mark. And, you know, if we lose this, we're going to have to go. If we lose this ability to rent out our ADU, and also to, if for some reason we just sell and try to build another place in town or do something, we need to be able to carry that to the buyer, because that's value for us.
We're going to need you to wrap up.
Okay. All right. Well, that's about it. Thank you for considering ADU vacation rentals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ward. Thank you. Rick Tenon.
So I'm Rick Tenon. I live at 219 West Oaks here in Port Aransas. I came here in 1974. I've lived here full time, and in September will be my 46th year here. I raised my kids here. I'm here to talk about short-term rentals. First, I want to thank you all for considering the ordinances tonight, G through L. And I hope you act on them favorably. They will have a very positive impact on this particular problem. Short-term rentals. I'm surrounded by them. I have one next door that's supposed to sleep about 8 or 9. There's usually 15 or 18 people and 7 to 9 vehicles parked and golf carts. There's a short-term rental across the street that has a lower and an upper unit. That's 5 to 7 cars. There's 2 short-term rentals between that and the corner, on the third house from the corner. There are times on Tuesdays and Fridays when the garbage truck cannot get to my house because it can't come down the street. I doubt the fire truck or an ambulance could reach my house. It used to be just Thursday or Friday through Sunday. Now they show up on Thursday, they go home Wednesday, and the next group shows up on Thursday. It doesn't stop. So number of bodies per unit, parking Blocking the street is a huge problem. I see item L is short-term rental toters. Garbage is incredible. I send pictures to Rick Adams and Carla just about once a week with the toters sitting in the front yard. The lids won't close and there's 3 to 5 bags, plastic bags of garbage stacked around it. I know our garbage man who picks it up doesn't get out of the truck and put that up. The dogs, the coyotes, the gulls scatter it all over the neighborhood. Fill and drainage. I know we have a height requirement in this town. Why can't we require them on tilings? Every time you allow a lot to be filled 3 to 4 feet, all it does is flood everybody else's yard around them, including mine. When Bo Marito's house was torn down after the storm, they put 2.5 to 3 feet of fill on it. My backyard for the past week, even though it was an unusual rain event, is a lake, and the entire town is like that. Barney talked about Old Town. I have a brown sign, Oaks and Oleander, and that in about $1.50 will get me a cup of coffee somewhere in this town. It's worthless. Unless you designate and protect Old Town, there's no reason to even designate it. Barney talked about the development going up on East White Street. My mother passed away. I inherited as an estate inheritance 403 East White, which is across from Barney. The lots next to me, I understand now are going to be replatted with 3 of those monstrosities like going up on Oaks and Oleander. That has nothing to do with Old Town. And if they bring fill in there, it will completely flood my new property on 403 East White. I'm a full-time resident here. Let's stop. Let's start paying attention to our quality of life. I know development will not stop, but what about our quality of life? I've been here 46 years. I've been on the council. I helped write the city charter. I served my time on the school board. I was director of education at UTMSI for 36 years. I have a quality of life here and it's being destroyed. Thank you.
John Christensen.
Afternoon, I'm John Christensen, 531 Lydia Ann Channel here in Port Aransas. 51 years ago, I spent my first night at Mustang RV Park here in Port Aransas. Going across the ferry on the way back up to Iowa, I looked in my mirror and I said, someday I'm going to live here. It took me 20 years and a new family, but here I am. So 30 years ago when I came here, I worked a little while for the city, part-time. I worked for the chamber. While I was at the chamber, we spent thousands of dollars every year trying to entice visitors to Port Aransas. And one of the reasons that we did that was because long about December every year, the town shut down. There was nobody. The restaurants closed. If you could find a place to eat, you were pretty lucky. Well, all that's changed. We owe it to the tourists for a lot of the advances that have been made in our city. Streets, sidewalks, sewer, water systems, what we have for emergency services, our fine police department. We have a lot of upgrades, and it comes much from the tourism that's here. Now, I have an idea, and it came to me about 5 years after I moved here, that most everybody wants to be the last one off the ferry. We don't want any more growth after I get here. Not fair. So I know we need to do something about the number of people, the visitors and so forth. We've got trash problems, we've got traffic problems, we got a lot of things to consider. So why not just put a toll gate on the other side of the ferry and one a La Mirage and charge $1,000 a car? You want to stop growth, that's one way to do it. I don't think we need to stop it. I think we need to work on it as we have been doing. Every house we build, we have to have X number of parking spaces, which we adhere to, and generally more than that. And I'm not happy all the time with everything that the city dictates that I have to do. Every house I build, my fees go up, every house. I'm not kidding. So, and I'm not talking about lumber and materials. I'm talking about city and water taps and all the stuff that goes along with it. But I'm going to continue to do what I do until I can't do it anymore. But I thank you for your time, and let's keep tourism alive in Port Aransas.
Bonnie Isaac.
Oh, thank you.
Hold the microphone down.
Paving paradise, dangerous density, quality over quantity. Those are the words we want running through your head as you make your decisions about how much changes you want to make to the planning and zoning for our little town. Quality of life is very important to those of us who live in Port Aransas. Should I start over? I really should start with Bonnie Isaac, 300 East White Avenue, Port Aransas, Texas. How about that? Families come here since the 50s for our vacations. I, of course, wasn't there then, but and then I bought a house in about 15 years ago in Old Town, the house that was built in 1935. I love Port Aransas. Now, so it's paving paradise, dangerous density, quality over quantity. Now, those are the words that we want running through your head as you make your decisions about how much changes to the planning and zoning for our little town. Quality of life is very important to us here. Those of us who live here full time, some of us for many generations. Preserving that beach town, small town look and feel is also important. Important to full-time residents as well as our part-time property owners and our vacation visitors. In a recent South Jetty letter to the editor, Barney Farley wrote a letter centering on drainage issues clearly apparent in recent rain-filled weather. He points out that although previous drainage projects were successful, they are being overwhelmed by the intense campaign of development, which is adding significant acreage of impervious surfaces. He pleads, stop building roads and streets and pouring massive amounts of concrete until the master storm drainage project has run its course. In that same edition of the Jetty, John McKinney also wrote a letter. John McKinney, a longtime Port Aransas resident and volunteer firefighter in our community, made a plea for your attention to the planning and zoning issues with the following words. I want to raise awareness that the high density of levels of houses in many parts of Port Aransas are a perfect recipe for large conflagrations, pointing out the danger in high density neighbors with large groups of massive 3-story houses built with minimum space between them, plus parking congestion could very likely prohibit timely access for emergency vehicles. And as you have heard already, it already is. To bring the message home, he cited the 2009 fire in the private marina that resulted in 7 homes burned at that one incident. Now, those homes had more space between them than what we're talking about right now. He pleads with you who make these decisions. This is the time to put a stop to the continuing build out of Port Aransas. My own mantra is a plea for quality over quantity. Let's stop paving paradise and cramming 3-story rental properties within 3 inches and a coat of paint of each other. So I close with the words of warning and pleas that we want you to keep in mind. Paving paradise, dangerous density, quality over quantity.
Thank you. Mark Phelan.
My name is Marty Phelan. I live over at 168 Five Dove over in Royal Sands. And I just want to let you know this last storm system that we had, we're driving around. I happen to live on the back on a drainage pond, and the pond, you could smell raw sewage. right, coming back out. And so you drive around, and you'll see the sewage system backing up into the drainage pond. So with that, we got to drive around Port A, and it really kind of ties into everybody what they were talking about in terms of the drainage system and the storm system and the sewer system. I think the system's probably already overwhelmed. When you drive through, you can see, particularly on White Street, and you walk down that area and stuff, the roads are already backed up. So when we get things for platting purposes, you'll see arrows on it, right? And they'll say the property will drain to the road. It does. I mean, water goes downhill, right? But if you walk around the area, you also see that when it drains to the road, that the storm system is 10 feet away from the sewer system. And those manways are not watertight. They have holes in them. So all that water that the storm systems are, and the pave and the impervious stuff is running right to the road. The road is running, overwhelming the storm system, running right to the sewage system. And that's why we're getting the backup in the sewage system. It's already happening, right? So this has nothing to do about what's going to happen a couple of years down the road or getting control over it now. It's already there, right? So what I'm really asking for is when people come in for developments and for replatting and for things like that, is to give a qualitative analysis, not a quantitative, saying this is the way the water is going to flow. I know the water is going to flow downhill. What I want to know is what's the capability of that development and the impact of that development or proposed development or replat on the storm system, stormwater system, and how does that impact the sewage water system? Are we going to have to build another sewage treatment plant? Are we going to have to size or resize piping? I've been in zoning and planning before. Some of the developers, they actually had to put in holding tanks for the stormwater so that you could have a holdup system so that you could feed it into a feed and bleed into a system. I mean, there's ways around it, right? But it's got to happen now because this is really not, it's not about development or pro-development. It's really a safety issue. When you have raw sewage backing up into these areas and these ponds, I mean, that's just unacceptable. And it's out where I am already, and it's not going to be long before it's down here in White Street. So whoever's, the White Street development just comes to mind because it's an obvious one and stuff like that. So I would encourage quantitative analysis over qualitative analysis, get some detail so people can make an informed decision and understand the crosstalk between the stormwater system and the sewage treatment, the sanitary water system. Make sense?
John McKinney.
John? He was here. Oh, there he is.
John McKinney, 703 6th Street. And Miss Bonnie stole some of my thunder. I don't know where she is. That's okay. I'll read it verbatim anyway. It's all right. And I'll start with it. I've lived in Port Aransas since 1979. I've served this community as a volunteer firefighter for 35 years. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
During those 35 years, my titles included firefighter, fire captain, assistant chief, and fire chief. In those years, I made countless entries into blazing structure fires and countless saves, and we also lost a few houses during those years. I'm still in your fire department, but I'm mostly inactive due to my age. I'm really that old. And I'm really busy with my full-time job. The purpose of this letter is to help make you aware that due to the high density levels of houses in many parts of Port Aransas, we have a perfect recipe for a large conflagration or numerous large conflagrations. Most notably on 11th Street, where the groups of houses have been built with spaces no bigger than 6 to 9 feet between them, and the large 3-story houses being built within 7 to 10 feet from each other, located in different areas throughout town. If Port Aransas continues to build at this level of density, combined with the parking congestion around these high density housing areas, it will prohibit timely access for emergency vehicles and add to a potentially life-threatening and financially devastating scenario that currently exists. This problem affects the lives of residents and visitors alike. In 2009, Port Aransas had its own large conflagration, which I was at for 10 hours, in the private marina where 7 houses burned. Houses in the private marina had far more space between them, approximately 30 feet. 4 houses that burned were 100 feet away and separated by a canal from the house that first caught fire. The safety of our residents and visitors is a 100% legitimate reason to put a stop to the continued build out of Port Aransas at this level of density. I also strongly suggest immediately hiring some full-time paid staff at the fire department to supplement the volunteers. And let's be proactive instead of reactive in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy Fulton.
Oh, I just filled mine out to let you know I support basically doing whatever we need to do to reduce some densities for right now, and Yahoo to everybody speaking. Y'all got my email for the public here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jim Gates. Good to see you, Jim.
Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff, thank you very much. Nice to see the new officer. Appreciate that, chief. Need some more. Jim Gates, 232 East Oaks Avenue, Port Aransas, Texas. Born and raised there. Well, I wasn't born there. My mother broke water there. I made it onto the causeway in the back of the constable's car. That's when we had one constable to take care of things here because everybody else that lived here took care of everything. The short-term rentals that we had then were called tourist courts. The owners lived on site and maintained order and kept them tidy. Gibbs's cottages, Lister's cottages. I mean, the list goes on. There was hundreds of them. But that's not the way this deal works. I know it's been quoted to me a lot of times. So it's like, what do you mean you don't like short-term rentals? There's these tourist courts right next to your place. Yeah, different, completely different. There was supervision there, you know. I don't know, maybe people just act like jerks more, but anyways. And that's not limited to visitors.
That could be.
No, I'm talking about. I am a man with history, but I used to watch the sun come up at my house every morning. And now I get to watch it at 10 o'clock because there's 3-story houses built right in between me, right to the east of me. And I know I'm not saying that there's anything illegal done about it, but there is something about the spirit of the law. There's something about the concept of proper management. And as far as the drainage is concerned, when they first dug the first drainage system here, I can remember it right now. I heard a man say they can dig it as deep as they want to, but they can't make water run uphill. It's an island. It's really, really low. Our best drainage system is percolation. The water comes down out of the sky, it lands on the sand, it goes through the sand and into the water table if it can get to the sand. If everything is run straight onto the streets, then you get rivers. You know, I mean, my house is a lot of times now a canal address. Water coming around Station makes a turn on Oaks and heads west from there. But what I'm saying is that there's a whole bunch of issues, but all of those need to be remembered, that the stuff that we're dealing with here, while all these people are here, they're from here. We're not trying to put anybody out of business. We're just trying to keep them from living their lives because that's the way it feels. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jordan Witz.
Hello, council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jordan Witter. My address is 300 Cutoff Road here in Port Aransas. I own a small business here. I'm speaking on behalf of the working class in this community today. For most of them cannot be here they're working right now. Housing is the number one crisis in this town. Long-term affordable housing is the number one crisis in this town today. If we do not fix it, we cannot hope to help our small businesses, our restaurant owners, our hotels. They're all short-staffed, and it all leads back to long-term housing. We can no longer make the excuse that we need to outsource from Aransas Pass to Corpus. That is impractical, and it is no longer going to work. The Palladium is not the answer. It doesn't even scratch the surface. After all the city workers and the first responders and all the people that are priority that need that housing, there will be nothing left for the workers in this town. The homeless population in this town is exploding. I am passionate. I am emotional. And I will not sit back and be complacent and watch this happen. I know this because I was once homeless in this town a short while ago, and I lived in those hotels. And I know what those people are going through. This problem needs to be addressed now, or it will continue to get worse, and this town will disappear. I back the motion to bring forward a moratorium on all short-term rentals. No one says we can't have tourism. No one says we can't have short-term rentals. But there has to be control, and there has to be balance. Without balance, there is chaos, which we are living in every day. We elected you to these seats to defend us, to protect us, and to promote our values. Do it, and do it now. We will hold you accountable. If you do not listen to us and heed our calls for help, then I fear a much darker crisis happening to this town, and this town disappearing, drying up, and all the families and all the charm and all the love that we have for this beautiful city will disappear. I want to see children playing on those streets again. You must act. When you do your zoning, when you do your planning for your housing, act. If you do not, a citywide walkout is not far behind you. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? You missed.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Come on.
Lisa Turcott. My grandmother's spot is 305 Avenue J, where my sister lives, Linda Morgan. I live at 200 North 12th Street with my companion. I spoke to the P&Z last week, and I was emotional and I was frothing at the mouth, but I'm trying not to do that today. I just wanted to say my concerns about Avenue J and the demise of Avenue J, because now we have a new development. Imagine that. Where Mary's Malibu used to be, and 10th Street, that has never been a street in my life, is now going to be a major thoroughfare from whatever comes by the swing bar and goes through the new development. Then it's going to come right in front of our little house. And Annetta Adams and Bubba Molina, their compound is right there. Miss Hutchins' house is now a raised, huge house. No offense to the house. It's not an STR, and that makes me very happy. But the traffic, if children like us played on Avenue J all our lives, if a child tried to play on Avenue J today, they'd be killed like that. There is no playing on Avenue J, and there's sidewalks on both sides of it. I'm very concerned, and last week when I spoke to P&Z, I wanted to second Pat Kuchlenberg's moratorium for building STRs at this time. We don't need any more lots with humongous 3-story whatever, or tiny 10, 20 plunge pools like this. We need to stop that. I'd like to have it for the record that I'd like a moratorium. Back over at my little casita on 12th Street, coming down 12th Street to go to work every day, I have to pass the new development where the 6 buildings are. And now there, I've been living there, I guess, 3 years since Harvey, and it was always easy breezy. Now coming down 12th Street by the 6 new houses, there's 6 totes, and they're always there. They're not ever pulled in. There's major potholes from where the gas company made huge holes. So you got to go around where you just can't go around because there's buggies coming, looky-loos, as my friend Tess calls them. And you don't want to kill anybody. But, and the water that's still there after last week's floods, it's still there. And anybody go down 12th? So don't say in the left-hand lane or my old lady ride is going to take a beating. That's all I'd like to say. I have great respect for what the city needs to do. And I have nothing against business or tourism. I understand. But like I think Mr. McKinney spoke about, or whoever, the courts that we used to have are way different than what we have today. Take a drive down Avenue J and see what's gotten there since I moved here full time with my sister in 2015. And my grandmother bought our place in 57. So we've been here a minute. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else that would like to speak on this subject?
Hi, y'all. My name is Cheryl Denisio. I live at 236 Dolphin Lane here in Port Aransas. I'm very blessed to live where I live. I'm a new resident. I've been here and I've never done this, and this is my first city council meeting. I have been here for 3 years, and I came by myself. No kids, no pets, no husband, no boyfriend. And it's still that way, and I'm good with it. But I have, just saying, but I have moved 4 times in the last 2 years. I'm surprised I have any friends left. And that doesn't count storage units and moving things around, does not count that at all. It is so difficult to find a place to live here long-term. And I love Old Town. That's where I'm blessed to live. And I have been the whole time I've been here. Unfortunately, some of the officers know me because I've had some really, really horrific neighbors in the last year during COVID. One was really bad, finally off the island and in prison. The other one, it doesn't matter. Regardless, I didn't know what meth smelled like. And it has an odor. Who knew? I thought it was just really bad BO or some bad cologne. But again, I'm very blessed, but I don't know how long I can sustain this. My landlords are awesome. I'm so blessed. I'm in a safe neighborhood, but work is hard. There's lots of jobs. The income's not that great. It takes a lot to live here. It just takes a whole lot, especially if you're not independently wealthy, and we're overtaxed. And I'm very thankful I'm on a quiet street now, but you guys have a lot of issues to deal with. I was a tourist for many, many years. This is why I moved here. It's my happy place. I hope I can stay. Peace, y'all. I hope I'm a good member of the community. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Lisa McClellan. I live at 1721 Palisades on a non-rental street that has constant rentals. I wanted to remind everybody about, I had an accident during the freeze. My husband and I were severely injured. Long story short, my husband died and was revived on our driveway on Palisades. I was severely injured and helo-flighted to BAMC, Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio. So if it wasn't for our first responders, I wouldn't be alive, and neither would my husband. Our officers bravely saved us. One of the officers was actually succumbing to carbon monoxide poisoning herself when she pulled us out of the driveway. We took 2 ambulances. They had to take us to SurePoint in North Padre because it was the closest. medical center as the bridges were frozen over and the ferry wasn't running. So my concern, I'd like to piggyback onto John McKinney's concern about the firefighters. Mine is also all first responders. We took 2 ambulances and I'm not sure how many were left in town when they took us. I know my mother would succumbing to carbon monoxide poisoning, and the only thing they could do for her was bring her to City Hall and give her some oxygen. I would assume, because I was in a helicopter, that it was because we may have been out of ambulances. If a fire happens, if a serious incident happens, we're going to be in trouble. Our citizens, these people are going to be in trouble. Our visitors are going to be in trouble. Our officers are brave and wonderful, and we wouldn't be alive without them. Our first responders were wonderful to us, but we need more. If this is going to go on, if we're going to continue inviting people into our home, we need to provide safety for them. And we're inviting numerous amounts. The more short-term rentals that go on the market, the more people we're inviting into our home. We owe responsibility to those people. If they're going to be here and they're going to be our guests, which they are, we're a tourism-run company. My husband and I run an offshore fishing charter. Without the tourists, we wouldn't be running. So we need them. I don't have nothing against the tourism. I'm concerned about their safety. I'm concerned about our safety. Listen to the scanner on any Saturday. Don't listen to it on the 4th of July because it'll give you a nervous breakdown. But listen to the scanner this evening. And there are children lost. There are drownings. There are things happening that our first responders will become overwhelmed with. There's just simply not enough of them to help everyone. So I stand before you as a woman who's healed and who's lucky to be alive, thanks to the first responders of the city. I can only stand for about 5 minutes, and then I have to sit down because 90% of my legs were burned. I wouldn't have my legs if it wasn't for these first responders. I may not be alive. I know my husband wouldn't be alive fishing today. Although arriving back to the Fisherman's Wharf in the next 30 minutes, he wouldn't be doing that without them. Please, I implore you, consider that when we're thinking about short-term rentals. We have a lot of vested interest in the property management, in real estate. There are so many different facets to this, but please don't consider the bottom line. Instead, think about the fact that my children would have had to come pack up my small business and read my planner and see that when my notes had stopped on February 15th, that was the day I died because we didn't have enough first responders in Port Aransas. This is everyone's heaven. My home, we've named it Cielo en la Tierra. It means heaven on earth. Without our first responders, it won't be that for everyone. I implore you, please consider that when you think about the short-term rentals in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cecilia Fox. I've been a resident here for 48 years and have really enjoyed living here. My children were born and raised here. My question is, I would like clarification on what you can do contouring your land when you have a neighborhood whose housing has been there since the 50s and 60s. It is my understanding that you are not allowed to change or to raise your existing surface around your home. Is that true or not to the old existing homes here? Because, for the flooding, is there something in the city charters or anything on that? I don't know, Bruce. Does anybody know?
So
I heard
if
there
you come
was.
in and meet with us, we can show you what's in the books and stuff.
Okay.
If you want, just give me a call and I
Okay,
can.
the reason is, I don't know if anyone else is undergoing this problem, but people are coming in and they're old established homes. And they are building huge swimming pools. So they're raising their backyards 3 feet. They're putting in these big swimming pools, and then they take all the sand and all the ground that they take out of it, they raise their backyard. Well, there's a I mean, we can't, I mean, it all comes down to our coroner. And I just don't even know if that's legal, if they're allowed to do that. But that's my question. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, we're not allowed to respond. That's why I didn't answer your question.
Oh, I would love a response.
Well, I'm saying we're not allowed to.
We're
That's
not.
why David's.
Yeah, but if you could give me a call and we'll meet.
And anybody else? Want to get everybody out here?
Charlie Stovall at 420 Ocean View. I just want to, I'm not going to ask because y'all can't respond, but I want to bring up code enforcement. I don't know who's responsible for that. I don't know enough about how city works or this city works. I don't know if it's Chief Borough's office or another office, but I believe it's kind of like gun control. You can put more laws on the books, but if you're not enforcing the ones that you have, then that's really the first problem. So I believe that there are a lot of short-term rentals in this city that are not registered, that have way too many people in them, that no one cares about or no one's enforcing. And that keeps those property owners just filling them up, and making money on the backs of the citizens. So I don't know what the answer is, but we've got to have some more code enforcement. And I know our taxes are all going to go up, right? But where's that money coming? A lot of it's coming to the city. We need to hire some people. We need more officers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if they get real long, you can just paraphrase them.
Yeah, minor short, richer longer. I have several to read and then Rick Adams has several to read. This is from William Daly at 619 Avenue B. I would like the council to support changes recommended by the P and Z in an attempt to control density, mitigate congestion, protect threats to the storm water drainage, and slow the deterioration in the quality of life that short-term rentals are causing. The people who are here have property rights too, and they are being eroded by the rapacious development and developers. We are closing the gate after the horses have gotten out, and that is our everlasting shame. This is from Maggie Sheldon. My name is Maggie Sheldon, and I'm a full-time resident at 695 Cara Drive. I'm out of town, or I would be here in person. My once quiet neighborhood is now become populated with large capacity short-term rentals. Last weekend, I counted at least 30 people at a loud party next door with 5 cars and 4 golf carts in a 4-bedroom house with off-street parking for 4. I called the owners, who responded quickly and solved the problem. Apparently, it was a designated party house for some who were staying elsewhere. I have not been as lucky with the trash problem across the street. Despite having the city out and calling and writing the management company and the owners multiple times, the occupancy is 18. Although I hope that changes with the new rules. And there is 1 trash can that can hardly ever go out timely. Bags of trash get dumped on the curbs, sometimes by the management company employees who apparently don't know the city guidelines for trash. Birds rip the bags open and trash blows around. I have been cleaning it up. I don't like seeing trash around the street or on my lawn. It occurs to me that I should not be left to police my neighborhood. There are people making big money from these properties, and it's not me. These constant problems are disturbing the quiet enjoyment of my home and are making me cranky. In my opinion, we need code enforcement officers that work after hours. We need to start imposing fines and suspension of rental privileges for repeat offenders. Maybe that will get the attention of the owners and the management companies. The same thing goes for golf carts, the multitude of violations and annoyances they create. We are not only the only city suffering the scourge of short-term rental business. We have advisory committees for all kinds of things here in Port A. Might I suggest forming a committee to study the problems associated with STRs and golf carts that can provide potential solutions for council to consider. I also thought it might be helpful to start neighborhood watch programs for further reporting and accountability and to identify and resolve problems specific to individual neighborhoods. Thanks for listening. This is from James and Sherry Voss at 699 Morgan Circle. We are unable to attend the city council meeting tonight. We own a property that is in an area with short-term rentals. We must deal with parking issues that block access to our home, trash consistently not picked up, which causes a stench and waste in the wind, confrontations with guests regarding noise after hours, as well as a general disrespect for property owner rights. While the issue of behavior is up to each guest, the issue of the city of Port Aransas does not appear to consistently enforce the ordinances and laws presently in place. Guests are generally going by what property management companies advise them is acceptable, or worse, do not issue the requirements of being a respectable guest. The city of Port Aransas has approved variances to building combination of lots and insufficient parking plans. The problem may appear to be the guest, but in actuality, the problem is what the city has approved in P and Z, and allowing a chief of police to go on public record is not enforcing the laws and ordinances. We are pleased the city council is addressing this issue, as the impact on the quality of life is so significant that the reputation of Port Aransas is negatively affected. Please curtail the variances, review the parking plans for validity and feasibility, change trash contractor, and protect this town that has a heritage worth saving. And the last one's from Mallory Kalaya at 50512. Dear Mayor and Council, over the last 11 years, I've seen an explosion of development in Port Aransas, mainly in short-term rentals. This is directly responsible for the loss in quality of life for those of us that are full-time residents. Short-term rentals ignore occupancy limits, block streets and driveways, park in yards, party loudly late into the night, leave behind trash, and create gridlock for residents trying to traverse the city. Property rights go in both directions, and we full-timers deserve some consideration of our rights. And they seem less important than those of future owners that don't even have building permits, just plotted land. We live here 365 days a year. We vote here, shop here, volunteer, work here. What about our rights? And they go on to state the zoning, section 25-2, which I will not read. I do not see the underlying items happening. I urge you to tighten zoning and restrictions as much as possible going forward to lessen the density here wherever possible, but especially south of Avenue G. Maybe place a 90 to 100-day moratorium on building unless a building permit has been issued, so that changes made are not done in a reasoned, thoughtful manner.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is from John Morris, Mayor Bouillon, City Council, City Manager, and City Staff. I had fervently hoped to be able to attend this meeting, but unfortunately am unable to attend this evening. I applaud the initial actions that came out of the last P&Z to hopefully turn the tide on the unfettered development, and can only hope and pray that our elected and appointed leadership can get us on course for a truly community-focused path towards sustainable development. The time is now. Port Aransas is now at a crossroads. After Hurricane Harvey, we were given a chance. On November 19, 2017, Mayor Bouillon posted the following. On Thursday, November 30th at 5 p.m., the City Council will hold a special meeting. One of the items on the agenda is a discussion about the future of Port A after Hurricane Harvey. This will be the first of several discussions about where we want our city to go in the next 5 years of rebuilding. This will be an opportunity for all of us to have a constructive and civil discussion about the issues we face and how to address them. I invite you to attend and to participate. Sadly, the hard work of many in this community was squandered instead of a race to pave. Sadly, the hard work of many in this community was squandered, and instead a race to pave, not save, ensued. We are again at a point where community engagement is high, and more importantly, with new members on the council, there's a strong will to take necessary steps to save what is left. Sadly, not as much as before Harvey, though all that remains is worth saving. Through the P&Z process and past council votes, we have numerous special developments, categories that were created well prior to Harvey that were implemented to spur development, some of which did indeed result in limited development of homes that were restricted to preclude STR use. But these same categories are now almost exclusively used to spur what is now uncontrolled development of STRs. When is enough, enough? Officials have stated that they can't enforce the rule, regulation, and laws that are in place. Why? The existing STR and all future development must be made to pay for the additive cost that each high-density development and that each STR places on our community. Research what are the highest allowable rates for all associated permitting and impact fees. Use this as a baseline as you then plan future infrastructure and public safety. Based on the number of people, not number of structures, single-family homes, owner-occupied and long-term rental, likely have 4 occupants, whereas an STR may be as high as 12 plus, creating much higher demand for services to include EMS, law enforcement, fire, sewage, traffic, etc. Eliminate cottage unit developments, revisit height restrictions, setbacks, green space requirements, holistic drainage requirements based on cumulative, not singular additions, eliminate the high-rise multifamily, and return to the historic 5,000 square foot lot size minimums where possible. Seriously revisit the appropriate way to provide comprehensive public safety services, especially in regard to staffed versus paid fire department, to include industry standard combined fire and EMS with consideration of the use of volunteers to supplement a paid force. Based on NFPA 1710, standard for organization and development of fire, he cites a reference that
Rick,
will make
3.5.
Okay.
You almost done?
No.
Only halfway.
I asked, I'll finish, I'll
Yeah.
conclude. I asked that all members of the city council think about what they love about this community and do what is necessary to protect what we have. It's past time to hit the emergency brakes on the unfettered overdevelopment. No doubt we will continue to grow, but please aim to strike a balance that respects residents of the community. The vast number that voted in the recent election shows council members that feel the same way I do. Enough is enough. John Morrison. Change of pace from James Joseph. I would like to thank all, I would like to have been here in person. However, I had a family emergency that I needed to attend to. Thank you for allowing me the time to submit this public comment, and I will see you in person at the August meeting. My name is James Joseph. I am a residential property owner in Port Aransas, and I am in favor of a new or revised policy that would allow certain utility vehicles, UTVs, to be registered with the city that meet certain criteria. Currently, there are 4 types of ATV, UTVs that meet the laws in Texas. ATV, UTV, utility terrain vehicle, sport utility terrain vehicles, performance recreational off-road utility vehicles, ATVs, four-wheelers. My recommendation only allows for only one of these categories, utility terrain vehicles, Polaris Ranger, Can-Am, Defender style. As you have seen by my emails, presentations, and heard by my phone calls, is that I am passionate about this topic as I see a need for the city to allow certain UTVs the ability to operate similar to golf carts. I'm proposing that the city council revise the current golf cart rules or create a new ordinance to allow UTVs that meet the below criteria and now be registered with the city of Port Aransas, pay a fee, and receive a license plate. As one council members asked me and others, what's his angle? What does he want? Does he want to start a UTV rental business? The answer to that is no. As a Texas resident and Port Aransas taxpayer, I would like the ability to legally drive my UTV on roadways just as golf carts are allowed to do, as they are safer and more durable and the overall costs are less. The argument that they are, quote, more dangerous because they are faster or they tear up the dunes is from prior experience without rules and is uninformed, as my recommended restrictions would eliminate this. I do not believe that the residential law abiding property owners should be punished for this historical activity. My recommendations do not allow for visitors to transport in during short-term rentals or rental companies the ability to purchase a plate. This will work with the following restrictions. UTV must be registered, must be manufactured with less than 99 horsepower, must be manufactured with a steering wheel and foot pedals. For acceleration and braking may only be operated in golf cart approved areas and follow all existing golf cart rules. Must display proper permit by the city of Port Aransas, must not be operated more than 5 miles from where it is normally located, and must show proof of financial responsibility with the address within the address boundaries of the city of Port Aransas or property tax statement proving property ownership. That's it.
All right.
David?
Yes, sir.
Just a point of order.
Yes, sir.
If we wanted to have a meeting as a council strictly on STR, what would be the way to do that? And not have it in one of our monthly meetings, but outside of that.
I would just need 4 of you to call and request a special meeting.
Would it be a workshop or would it be a meeting?
You could do it either way. I
Well,
don't
the
think it really
workshop's much
matters.
more informal. I mean, is there something you're proposing or?
No, I want to find an answer to STRs. I'm tired of hearing about it.
So more of a workshop, Mayor, because I don't think we wouldn't have any action to bring at that point.
Right.
I mean, you guys, maybe from a workshop, you would direct staff to come up with some action But it would, my guess, Fran, just a workshop, correct? Yep.
You can also take action at the same meeting. if you wanted to, but-
We can't take action at that meeting.
Yes, sir.
And I'll let you, what I.
Yeah, I'll circle back with everyone and we'll pick dates and see what the interest is. We do have quite a few meetings coming up in early August. I think we have two, August 5th. What about the 12th? Yeah.
The STR issue must be solved.
What I could do is, how about I bring some possible dates to that August 5th meeting, and then you guys could throw it around at that, and then go from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay. Our consent agenda tonight is item A is the city council meeting minutes of June 17 and 24. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve.
A second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Seelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Krieger,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Mayor Person Holt,
Yes.
Mayor Beyond.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 7, items for consideration. B is accepting. and
It's
approving-
Mayor, that's pulled,
Pulled.
tabled. Yes, sir.
Is this, you not here today or is it?
It's not finished at this time.
Okay, item C is to discuss and take action to confirm that no due permit EFDP 21-1836 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan.
Do you want to move to H, I, and J, just so it's proud, because that's what they're waiting on. You want to jump to H? You guys want to jump to H?
I'm good with it.
You guys want to jump to H?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the crowd's here for. You want to jump to H and,
H, I, and J.
yeah.
I think K's gonna be involved, so
Yeah.
let's
What's
do it.
that?
I think K's gonna be involved, so
Yeah.
let's do H, I, and J.
All right, we're
Yeah,
gonna
let's
jump to
jump
H.
to-
We're gonna jump to H, I, and J.
Okay.
Item H is to discuss and take action on the final report of the Planning and Zoning Commission on Chapter 25 Development Regulations.
All right, since it's, has everybody read the report? Should I read the report from Planning and Zoning?
No, we.
I think someone can just vote to
Yeah, I mean,
accept it.
If
Is
there's
all we're
any
looking for.
questions, I think I do have
Can you give us
Do I have
just a
any-
short summary of it?
Yeah, I mean, not for us, but for the folks here.
any of my Planning and Zoning members here. I see Leslie.
Barney was here.
Barney.
Barney.
Barney's.
Marty's
Okay.
here.
Yeah,
Um,
it's here.
All right, so as directed by council, planning and zoning met, the special call meeting, and discussed the various changes that we've heard. So what you have before you, the report, let me hit the bullet points on the items that there was consensus on, and just briefly go over those where there was good discussion, but they felt it was better left back in the council's court with a few discussion points to consider. So the items as part of the report that were recommendations, where there was consensus, was modify the applicable ordinances to require minimum 5,000 square foot lots for all districts, thus preventing the platting or replatting of lots less than that. Planned unit developments are exempted from this requirement. Amend Chapter 25 development table to reflect a maximum density of 8 units per acre on low-rise development, which again goes back to the 5,000 square foot lot approximately. Eliminate the cottage unit development, prohibit planned unit developments north of Access Road 1A. On any lot less than 5,000 square feet, limit the height of any structure, regardless when platted, to 27 feet, not to exceed 2 stories. So there was again, a nod with my planning and zoning groups. That was the consensus. Good. The following additional items should be addressed, but did not reach specific consensus on exactly how best to do so.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes, sir.
Regardless when platted, you specify that means irrespective of when the plat was, we're now going to hold to a 27-foot.
Correct, because the intent was for property that may have been platted 1, 2, 3 years ago prior to the enactment of this. If that's what happens, those would be impacted as well.
Right. I mean, there is
Just
room
platted,
for,
that's all.
well, yeah, but there's room for lawsuits if someone said, hey, I was going to build a 3-story on the 3,000 square foot property. But I guess I think the city feels that.
We don't worry about lawsuits from the neighbor that is impacted by it, do we?
But they're not the ones that are going to sue you.
They might start.
Yeah, they might.
But that was the recommendation.
I wanted to be very clear.
That
on
was,
Okay.
that was the recommendation.
That ordinance was in existence prior, except for it was everything from 2010 and beyond.
So it's essentially
Now we're
never
going back
had
and
it,
recapture.
So we're gonna take it back.
Yeah.
Recapture, I like that word. Yeah.
So those items were again discussed, but not specific consensus. Neighborhood unit developments, NUDs. Several of the existing NUDs were identified, several of which Beach Walk 1 and 2, Royal Sands, Mustang Royale, Banyan Beach, Sandpoint, La Jolla. Some commissioners found them attractive and acceptable. Others were unsure as the current ordinance allows lots in NUDs as small as 3,400 square feet. However, for those under 5,000, that would require 1 square foot of defined recreational space for each square foot reduction below the 5,000. That's the way it is existing. Some thought that perhaps allow them limit lots to only 5,000 square foot or larger. Some were okay with none north of 1A. One or more commissioners felt this was a more appropriate topic to be more thoroughly vetted during the comprehensive plan rewrite. And that was their suggestion. So that's related to neighborhood unit developments. Short-term rental of RV parks and manufactured home parks. There was really no consensus that short-term rental of RVs and or the pad site should be prohibited.
So what does that mean? Short-term rental of RV parks? Does that mean bringing your RV in and rent and paying rent?
Yes, because don't we have an ordinance that you cannot short-term rent a RV?
No, you cannot short rent a HUD manufactured home.
Oh,
That's the only thing that's in there.
So, I mean, you could in theory, like put an RV in an RV park and short-term rent it then?
Right, so that comment would be someone comes down, rents a long-term space, and then on the side is renting out that RV short-term.
Okay.
Most of them don't do it.
Right.
I mean, I can imagine we want to stay in RV as a short-term, but I can definitely see, anyway, sorry, let's go back on track.
Those that talked about long-term only, Nicole, who serves as my floodplain administrator, also pointed out, however, that long-term, when greater than 180 days, is particularly frowned upon by FEMA because RVs are not intended to be long-term occupied by that definition, 180 days.
That's in a flood hazard area, special flood hazard area.
Which would be the majority of the ones that we identified currently. So just keep in mind that to say to be in favor of a long-term arrangement, however phrased, could put us in violation of FEMA. So, but that's 180 days. 180 days. Medium stays, 30 to 90 days wouldn't pose any problems. And there was a discussion about winter Texans in those timeframes. There was also some current concern, and it was referenced that prohibiting the short-term rental of RVs and RV parks would drive more units to the beach. So throwing that out there. And then finally, accessory dwelling units got a lot of discussion. Many thought leaving the accessory dwelling unit in whatever zoning they currently reside with the same allowed use was appropriate. There was another thought was to prohibit new ADUs for short-term rental altogether, grandfather existing ones initially, but find a method to ultimately bring those that were grandfathered into compliance at some future date. Another option discussed was to allow rental of either the primary dwelling or the ADU, but not both. And I think actually we heard from someone that that was exactly their situation. The ADI, another commissioner, this was another item that one or more commissioners felt would be better served being more thoroughly vetted and discussed during the comprehensive plan rewrite.
Can I throw some out here real quick? Sure. And I'm just saying, I was actually on the planning zoning when we came up with the ADU. I don't think it was ever our intention that it would be a short-term rental unit. I mean, it was designed to be a long-term. You have someone who comes down for the summer to be a waiter, they would stay there, and then at the end of the season, they would go away and a winter tax would move in. There was never a short-term rental. I mean, because they were like designed to be what?
Right,
700
and
feet or
that's
something.
correct, Bruce. It started out at P and Z that way, but when it went to council, it was changed.
Okay.
So we could change it back.
We were talking about it also, and as long as somebody lived full-time in one or the other ADUs, they could rent out, whether they're in short-term rental or long-term rental. I mean, it'd have to be, if they're in R1, they'd have to be long-term rental. If they're in R2, they could just go ahead. They have to, somebody has to live there full-time.
That was one of the discussion points.
Yeah.
And then finally, but importantly, planning and zoning, I'm sorry, they also, commissioners also referenced on more than a couple occasions that an expanded use of our flexible development would be the outlet and the option for higher density developments. But again, by the flexible development, by utilizing that, it's a more vetted process going through P and Z and ultimately to council. So there was a way to still provide for a higher density or something, but it would be through the flexible development. So
Hasn't flexible development mostly resulted in long-term limitations? Has there been a short-term, flexible development unit?
No.
No.
Yeah,
In fact,
so they've all been
it's
long.
the contrary.
Got it.
Okay. And specifically, it was written into the ordinance, anything that was related to an increased density that increased density had to be for long-term. So if you did allow, if through the flexible development, you allowed somebody perhaps a little bit higher density.
Right.
But don't ADUs
that had
increase?
that had to be long-term only.
Don't ADUs increase density? So it
If
should
you-
be
if
the
you were
same
to,
thing.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it does.
It's another dwelling.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was never intended to be a short-term rental. But I know that with the flexible unit, like I think one of the successes has been the Nautilus division behind the post office. And you may disagree with that, but that's been it was designed to be a more affordable product, whatever that word means.
They work for the first, they work for the
First
people
cycle.
that get in and get to buy the lots cheap and then it's getting worse and worse, but once it sells.
Yeah.
They're
it's
selling them for
pretty much game over.
700,000.
For a
now.
handful of people.
Yeah.
And then lastly, they just wanted, as the report says, lastly, that they felt really importantly, just again, strongly suggest that obviously before any changes are finalized, that city attorney, they just wanted to throw that in there, that make sure that that any legal reviews that you felt were appropriate were done, because we didn't undertake that for that meeting and those reports.
Dave, didn't our attorney look at that?
Yes,
stuff?
yeah, both Mike Morris and Robert Brown.
Yeah.
That is the highlights of the final report you have in your packet.
Any discussion
That's
on
all I-
high-rise buildings?
Yeah, that'll be coming
Was
up in the
accepted.
25 section.
That was accepted in the first part, right?
This was item H that you spoke on.
Yeah. We're just accepting this report. Is that correct? That's the.
Yeah, I think
that's-
motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
Second.
Yes.
Councilmember Seelock?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Bridger?
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Parks?
Yes.
Mayor Beaton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item I. First reading. Amending chapter 25 zoning of the Port Aransas Code of Ordinances regarding density, lot size, building height, accessory dwelling units, and planned unit developments, and providing for severance, reading, and effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. So the next two items, agenda items, are dealing with chapters that are relatively lengthy. So we'll go to those changes as we typically do, are highlighted or struck through, depending on whether it's an addition or deletion in red.
First change was page 111. If you have it in your book.
Thank you. I think we're the same.
Where are we?
Page 111 is the first set of changes.
Oh, that's this one. 102.
It's section 25, 147.
It's going to be different in our books.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. 33 of 62
33 of 62, sir.
on,
I'm
it's kind of hard.
yeah, sorry.
Section 25,
Yep, I got
147.
25 what?
147.
147?
So 25, 147 is the cottage unit development. And again, as you'll see, these are staff's changes based on the recommendations from the report. As
Well,
we-
it's kind of a hodgepodge. It's
as we understand.
council and in the report.
Right, and as we understood what your direction was as well. So it's a starting point. It's simply, rather than giving you the blank page, it's our understanding of what we were asked to do. So that's the changes that you see. So it's the elimination of the cottage unit development. You see that strike through. Again, we reference the planned unit developments will retain, since they are their own ordinance, they'll retain whatever lot densities are brought to you through that process. The recognition that now that the first dwelling unit will require 5,000 square feet of lot size.
So that's for nuds. Specific.
It includes nuds.
This includes, right now, this does include the neighborhood unit development.
All three of these.
Yeah, so it's 5,000 feet, Joan, 5,000 feet for any dwelling unit in any
Even in
any
PUD?
development except a PUD, because like Rick said, a PUD's its own zoning change and they bring it in. It's custom.
And then everything else that you see stricken through, leaving again, the section where you still calculate lot size for a project exclusive of streets and driveways, regardless of whether they're public or private. And also the reference to the density changes at the very bottom of that section. The highlighted part is simply my reminder to you that those were the areas that needed a little bit more council guidance, that they weren't incorporated into the planning and zoning report per se. So the first one at the top, there was neighborhood unit developments, NUDs, kind of what your pleasure is there. And of course, at the bottom of that section, they're really, they didn't specifically make a recommendation on high-rise buildings. Councilman Seeloff, you mentioned that. So we discussed it and felt a good alternative to high-rise development was simply do it as you would a planned unit development. It would become its own ordinance if you wanted to do high-rise.
In what?
Do the same process as a planned unit development.
I understand the planned unit. What?
A high-rise development that was previously listed as a prescriptive separate density allowance. We said any high-rise now just comes back through the PUD process, which essentially mean any high-rise becomes its own ordinance. It goes through P and Z and then council.
And there are some, they're just,
Rick,
they
what
are.
about the condo regime?
PUD.
Is it
Well, there's
listed anywhere?
Yeah, it'll be, if you look at the very back, we're going to add the word condo to the low-rise multifamily townhome
Okay.
Yeah,
slash
multifamily.
condo.
Sometimes
But nobody else
using
can
the
do
term
it.
condo is a little bit, you got to be careful because condominium really relates technically to more of an ownership than a type of development. A townhouse is a type of development. A condominium is more of an ownership because you can have a condominium townhouse. So
Yes.
Okay.
that's why we've got to be
I'm asking
careful
what
that
else is there.
we make sure that when we use the term, that's why we use the term multifamily.
Hotels.
Yeah, that's why we use multifamily to incorporate all of that.
Okay.
So basically, this clause right here, this will change the density from 21 units per acre to 8 units per acre, or it's 5,000 feet per dwelling
Square
unit.
feet.
So it matches like what the R1 requirement is. So we eliminate the CUDs. And then now a condo regime, for example, the one on 12th Street, instead of 3,000 square foot per dwelling unit, they would be at 5,000 square feet per dwelling unit.
That's what we want.
So that's that change. That's 25,147.
Yeah, so I guess maybe we can go through them all and then we can revisit them and you
Yeah.
guys can discuss each one. 2 pages later.
Discuss each one again.
What do you want?
Yeah.
Now go back and ask a question. Now's the time. to ask them.
That's right.
Well, if you want, ask it now.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Well, which question then?
No, I don't have any more.
Oh, I thought you had a question. Okay.
No, I'm
Sorry.
just thinking, let's do it as we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
All right. Yes,
That's
ma'am.
all I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry, misunderstood.
And then again, page 3562 on chapter 25. If you go down to 25,153C, no structures on any property located. We'll now read no structures located on any property north of beach access road 1A shall exceed 35 feet in height. Period.
Right.
And all buildings and structures located on a parcel whose parcel is less than 5,000 square feet shall not exceed 27 feet in height.
We're still talking
So-
mid-pitch of the roof, correct?
Yeah, it's
That
mid-pitch.
is our definition of height, correct? Unless it's a flat roof, then it's the top, but mid-pitch, hip and gable is what we typically see for a roof. Any questions on that? All right.
So basically, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm going to come back. So
Okay.
this new section E, since there's no building higher than 35 feet, that doesn't apply anymore. I guess.
Right, it doesn't apply anymore.
So E is that a strike through as well?
Yes,
then?
it's a strike through the whole thing.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. F is no single family or duplex townhome.
Yeah, that's
Right.
already, that clause right there for mobile homes in 25,155, temporary transient rental of mobile homes is prohibited. That's already stated in the R2 district. It's just that wherever we wanted to put that in every section where mobile homes are rented, so we just
So
grab
that has
that one.
always been,
So it's always present.
it's always been that way. right?
Yes.
You cannot transient rent mobile homes.
Correct.
Okay, Ray.
All right.
Page 49, sir, is your next set of changes.
Yeah, back to ADUs.
127 in your packet or
So,
page 49.
right, so the one change in ADUs you guys will notice, and Rick, I'll just partner in with you and jump in. The strike through is previously it said rental of an ADU shall be determined by the property's existing zoning district use regulation. So what the proposal in here is the underlined sentence that says regardless of zoning district, short-term rental of an ADU is prohibited. So now there's been other ideas thrown out that if it's in a rental district, one of the two must have a long-term person or slash owner
The owner.
on site. What were some of the other?
Or both units couldn't be short-term rented.
Right. Only one.
I think the owner.
Well-
is good. Because isn't that kind of what it was for? It was
Yeah.
like.
Well, it was originally, like Bruce said,
Yeah.
originally it was born in 2010 when the workforce housing group was together. And it originally came out of P and Z as no matter what district it was in, it was for long-term only.
Right. I mean, that was the intent. It was never.
That was the
intended to be
intent,
short-term. It was intended for like, someone to live here 6 months or whatever. have a job and then, say they had a
Or
job.
over
up
the
in-
summer even.
Well, most of you'd work here for the summer, then you go up to Steamboat Springs or someplace like that and work the ski trade and then come back here, that kind of thing.
And I really think that, putting ADUs as short-term rentals just increases the density of
defeats
short-term
what,
rentals
yeah.
again. And this defeats the whole purpose of how can we decrease the density?
Well, I will say it does do what the old ones had, and that was you have an owner on site who is, if we're gonna make it where the
owner has to live there.
owner has to be there,
Yeah.
then
That's-
at least you have
That's
control
where
over
we
it.
need to go, because
Yeah.
I agree completely with the citizen comment. This is one of the better short-term rental options that we have, where somebody's actually there watching
If
what's
they're
going
there,
on.
though.
If they're there. yes.
Right,
So
That would
in
be the
this
only way.
case, they are there. The one that was speaking earlier tonight.
Would you prefer, David, that be the owner or? So,
To be an owner, yeah.
Or-
Or
or-
a long-term renter.
or what if it was a
manager.
long-term rental /
You'd be the manager. How about
manager?
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd have enough control over that.
It'd be
though.
harder to
That'd
control,
be
yeah.
Much harder to control. Much easier if it's just the owner has to be there. if
Yeah,
they're
but I
gonna
mean,
do-
that's gonna be hard. I mean, like I said,
But
I
what it
don't-
does do is it does open up it guarantees another long-term housing property that may not be there otherwise.
But
Right.
if we did it long-term, that would be true.
I mean, long.
But if we do short-term, it's not
No,
gonna
no,
be there.
no, what I mean is that I think what we're hearing is that the rental of the ADU has to come with the owner living it. We're just saying that if it was a long-term owner manager even, that still becomes
Well,
another
we got to
long-term
be careful on
property.
that because you can have an owner who lives in San Antonio. This is his second home and he rents out his ADU short term. So yes, he owns a property,
No,
but
he'd have to be in that
resident.
structure.
He'd actually
long-term.
physically-
Resident.
He couldn't register, in other words, you couldn't register it to short-term rent. They'd have to be, it could be
We
a
can just say
a
owner
grad
slash
student that needs a
resident.
long-term place to stay.
I mean, I think we should, I think
I think
the
we ought to go
city,
back to the original meeting.
well, I think the city should focus its attention on, we should increase long-term rentals. That should be our focus here and encourage that. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I agree. I mean, I think we
I
should.
just think that this was, my personal feeling is it was never intended to be a short-term rental. It was always intended to be a long-term rental. And I think that due to whatever, it got made into a rental unit. And I think that that's not what the intent was. But that doesn't,
Getting back to that point.
Say it's only long-term.
Long-term rental.
ADU is a long-term rental.
That's easy to do.
And are you gonna grandfather in existing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have
So,
to.
Okay.
And so if people say, well, I can't make money with an ADU, then you have to look at something else.
Okay.
But we should encourage long-term rental.
Exactly. That's what we need, housing.
So,
Straw poll, leave it like it's presented.
see, let me read it again here.
Regardless of zoning district, short-term rental of an ADU is prohibited.
Yes.
Well, we'll have to add in the grandfathering language.
Right. All right, next is, what's next?
I think that's it for,
There's a
PUD, the
couple
PUD
of
language.
Yeah.
PUD may be located within any zoning district south of Beach Access Road 1A. Currently, it's on any 10-acre
Any
plus
district.
tract, but the thought was, I think, there were maybe 2 or 3 parcels north of 1A that could possibly be a PUD, but
support it.
no one wanted to see them there, so relegate it to south of Beach Access Road 1A / Piper Boulevard. And then the last thing, the chart is just adding the verbiage condo to that low-rise multifamily townhome, just expand that
Page 62.
definition.
Page
Yeah.
62, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the changes to 25.
Okay.
Good.
Questions, comments? We should probably, yes, that's the agenda item right now.
Make a motion.
Yeah,
In the motion,
I make a motion to approve these changes.
I second.
all the row.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Seeloff,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Krieger,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Hart,
Yes.
Mayor Dion.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Yes.
Item G, the second reading of ordinance for short-term.
We skipped that to go to this right here.
We'll get back. We're
We'll
gonna
get
jump
back
back to it, Rick.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have that down?
Yes, sir. Now we're going to item J, Mayor.
Voted down?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Item J. The first reading of an amending chapter, first reading and amending chapter 21 subdivisions of Port Aransas Code of Ordinances regarding density, lot size, cottage unit developments, and neighborhood unit developments, and provide for severance, reading, and effective date.
Mayor,
Page 24, Rick.
so
Section 21, 127.
So this refers to lot dimensions.
Page 24.
So if you'll look, we're just adding in, just kind of clarifying and cleaning up the lot dimensions language
That's just cleaned up.
to avoid more irregular types of lots. And just being very, very clear on how those lots should be laid out. So 50 feet at the street front, and this is obviously would take out R1 exclusively, which would imply any district. So 50 foot minimum street frontage, which is what an R1 lot is now, and continuously maintain a 50 feet in width to the rear building line of all the lots. And then eliminating in all other districts a deviation from that in a shorter frontage. So again, this takes it back to a 50-foot frontage lot, like previously we had seen in R1 districts.
So it forces everything to be, it forces every lot to be 5,000 feet, and it eliminates the stuff that allows a lot to be 3,000 square feet.
Less than that.
What we want.
Yeah. Page after that, strike through on the word cud. Go back a whole bunch.
186, I believe.
I don't have any numbers that match you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there's some on page 175. It's a deletion.
Yeah, then we
definition of
jump
open
to,
spaces.
then we jump to neighborhood unit development,
Page 165 of the
437, yeah.
which is section 21-242. So what we did here, so all the strike throughs in the NUD, everything you see there is the forcing a NUD to be at 5,000 square feet. So it eliminates all the fancy math and the recreation space and open space that allows the NUD to go sub 5,000 square feet. So that's all stricken through. The only kind of, when I met with council today in some pre-meeting sessions, the only issue was location of a NUD. So it's a NUD is a minimum of 2 acres. And the question was, did you mind seeing them north of 1A? Currently, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 south of 1A, and there's
Banyan Beach.
a couple NUDs north of 1A. You have Porpoise
Banyan.
Point,
Well, let me ask you this.
Banyan.
Let me ask you this question now, just for think. Since we've taken away the smaller lot size, what would be the advantage of going to a NUD versus just?
Having a private street with a gated with a gate.
So we can allow them anywhere in town then.
Well, I mean, really, so the only thing is they get a private street and a gate versus.
Well, if you go back and look at Porpoise Point, Mustang Roll 1 and 2, Beach Walk, La Jolla, hardly any of them were created to get sub 5,000 square foot lots.
Right.
The main reason they were created was for the private streets in the gated community. That's why they were designed.
They're a lot bigger than.
Most of them are, I think one of the few that used the sub 5,000 square foot lots was Banyan Beach. But other than that, most, and Banyan Beach didn't gate there. So, I mean, they truly wanted the smaller lots, whereas the other 6 used the NUD product really to get the private street and the gated access, which from a city administrator's point of view, it's great that we don't have to go rebuild their roads every 15 years. So,
Sure.
I mean, it's, that's the one benefit from the city standpoint is they get their own sewers and drainage and roads to have to rebuild on their own dime.
And usually when they're gated, they're not short-term rental as well. I'm assuming. Usually. I mean, is that something you would want to specify? Anything north of 1A would have to be long-term?
Yes, I think if we're gonna allow that, it's just.
I mean, is that something that, I mean,
I think do you just defer to the zoning district and keep it simple?
Okay.
I mean, if you have a zoning district that allows short-term rental, does it matter if they're 5,000 square foot lots that are just rentals or if they're in a private subdivision in the rentals? I would say it doesn't really
The only thing
matter.
that, I would say is that if there are short-term rentals, then you're putting more strain on the city infrastructure.
yeah, but if they're behind a gate, first of all, they just took a big load off the city because now the city doesn't have to maintain that.
Right. No, I understand that, but as far as like EMS.
And I can't imagine anybody wanting to buy into
Well, they're gonna
an
build
NUD
it
that's
whether
gated,
it's,
right? And
they're
want
gonna
them
build
to-
a 5,000 square foot rental, whether it's in a NUD or just a standalone subdivision.
Well, I just can't
If
imagine
the
anybody wanting to
zoning allows.
buy a private gated thing to have short-term rental people in there. I mean,
That's what I think.
The whole idea is you build a NUD with a
You do,
gate
right?
because you don't want people in your property. You don't
Making
want,
the
you don't want
erroneous-
looky-loos
you're
driving
making
through.
The erroneous assumption that all NUDs have gated communities. Royal Sands is not gated. It allows short-term rentals. And the lot minimum size, I believe, is 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
There. Okay, Royal Sands, Mustang Royale, now,
Beach Walk.
Beach Walk 1 and Beach Walk 2 are definitely gated and do not allow short-term
And La
rentals.
Jolla is the same.
And,
Yeah.
And Porpoise Point.
Porpoise Point.
so there are some, but I would leave it exactly as it's written here, just. keep
Porpoise
them-
Point has short-term rental,
Does it? Porpoise Point, what?
has short-term rentals. Don't
I
they?
can't
It's
imagine.
R1.
Oh, not Porpoise
Shouldn't.
Point. I'm
You're talking
thinking,
about Paradise
I'm
Point.
sorry.
You're
Not
the-
Porpoise
Yes,
Point.
the whole discussion
Paradise
though
Point.
is C okay with everybody, just leave a neighborhood located south of 1A, right?
Straw poll on that one?
South of 1A.
South of 1A?
South of 1A.
Yep.
I mean, I think it can go anywhere if it's gonna be a gated community. But that's just. my-
Joan, what was your thought?
Well, I kind of think,
I mean, other than a gated community now, there's no reason for a NUD.
right,
I mean, really, that's the only reason why you bring it to council. Otherwise, you just build it out, whatever the zoning is.
Right.
And if you limit to, I guess, I don't know, it's,
yeah, I
I
agree.
seem like two conflicting things here.
Right,
The only reason why you do a NUD is you want a gate and you want people out.
Well, a good reminder is that all of this will also be reviewed again here fairly soon. It'll, be looked at, there'll be another bite at the apple if there's any tweaks
good
or
point.
changes that need to be
Yep.
made. So
Sure.
I need to mention that.
Just most of them are way over 2 acres. I mean, most of them are a lot bigger than.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's people who, I just might, and I'm not a developer, but people who would buy into a NUD with the gate, whatever, don't want short-term rentals.
Sure.
Yeah, and La
And
Jolla,
otherwise-
somebody mentioned La Jolla. La Jolla actually started out as a short-term rental community.
Yeah,
that-
maybe it's
that
a
voted it out.
good incentive to leave it out there and let them
we
let them
voted
go
it out.
wherever they're allowed. And maybe you entice someone to build, 15 units that have the capability of short-term, but they want a NUD, so they don't rent them.
So as long as they're sticking with the 5,000 square foot, I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
I mean-
important. That's.
Well,
I agree.
At La Jolla, that's what we did.
Yeah.
We changed it from short-term rental to no short-term rental.
But you know what? I say we let it in the city and we see how it works out. I mean, I don't, I don't see any difference between that and not having NUD. Really, you took the incentive to have the smaller development away.
Joellen, what was your?
Oh. As long as the lots are 5,000 square feet and the setbacks are all good.
So pretty much like it's written right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there's not very many
Right.
There's not
2
gonna
acre
be-
tracks. in
yeah, so it's a
size.
scratch.
So we'd have to scratch
Yeah,
C,
scratch C. Right.
the location.
On the next page, interior site requirements, those are the two changes that, there's two changes. One regarding minimum lot size, the change to 5,000, and then item C under that is the parking. Typically in NUDS, you used to submit it to P and Z and council, and you could come up with your own unique parking. But the change here is that the parking shall meet the regular city parking ordinances,
Right.
whatever's on the books.
One for sleeping.
Right.
So that's that one. And then the next change is the cottage unit development, and that's just completely stricken through.
21,245, that's that whole.
So it's all removed. And then just the last textual changes you see is just the mentioning of the transient rental of a HUD manufactured home is prohibited. So that's it for 21.
So we really approved all the changes except for putting NUDS
Yeah, we scratched it.
throughout the city.
So do we need a motion on this? All right, I motion to approve.
Second.
Call roll.
Chairperson Holt,
Yes,
Councilmember Seabaugh,
Yes.
Councilmember Parks,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Maybe you want to take a quick little break.
Take 5 minutes
Yeah.
break.
Yes, sir.
All right, starting right now.
and then where
And
are
then
we
we'll
gonna
jump
go?
back to C.
C. Okay.
Yeah.
No fighting, get into the restroom.
It's blocked anyway, don't worry. You won't.
We're going back to
I haven't been out to dinner.
Where are you
since,
going?
I would like to go have pizza at like B&J's, but really that's,
Going into court?
I got to go
Fran,
to
come
Roosevelt
on.
for the first time I've been here.
Really?
it's nice.
The man can use you on
I
that.
will tell you, we did. I would tell you, you did miss something, sir. If you ever get a chance, and I think it was called The Other Guys.
James
It was
Joseph.
run by Guy, I can't remember the last name. He did the
Dave.
most awesome
James
coffee
Joseph.
buffet ever.
Really?
It was
What,
that
Mayor?
Where
good.
we at?
You're at
Item C.
Item C.
Okay. Item C, discuss and take action to confirm that no dune permit
Gym classes.
BFDP 21-1836 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. No permit will allow the construction of a swimming pool and associated amenities. The applicant is Bill Hooper. Proper location is 510 Ocean View Drive.
I thank you, Mayor, Council. So again, as I said before, this is one of our self-imposed city requirements, not necessarily GLO, because there is no impact to any critical dune whatsoever. But our coastal management plan requires that we still make that determination, goes through P&Z and comes to you. So this is in the Ocean View subdivision. The photos pretty much show a lot that had already gone through the full dune permitting process at some stage. Has been flattened, mitigated for, but because the request for this pool falls in 1,000 foot, even though there's no critical dunes, it still requires this process. So it is consistent with our coastal management plan. In fact, it's required of our coastal management plan that it go through planning and zoning and then come to you. It was passed by planning and zoning. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Anybody?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
call the roll.
Councilperson Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Seeloff,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item D, discuss and take action to confirm that no dune permit, BFDP 21-1844 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. The proposed permit will allow the construction of a wood privacy fence along south side of the property to the critical dune line. Applicant is Bill Balder. He's the manager. The property location is 1419 South 11th Street.
Thank you, Mayor. This is almost the same song, same dance. No critical dunes being impacted, but the proposed construction does fall within the 1,000-foot dune protection. In this case, it's a fence for the Coral Cay condominiums that are pretty well described in the photos. Clearly, the markers indicate it's mostly carpet grass. It's flattened, no dunes being impacted. So this is consistent with our coastal management plan. Planning and zoning approved. Staff recommendation is to approve.
Do I have a motion?
Just, I will just want to question quick. And is it, do you have to have a permit to build a 6-foot fence, or is this a bigger than 6-foot fence?
No, there's no building permit required for a fence less.
Just a
than
no dune
7.
determination.
So a no dune determination, correct.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Seeloff,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Abstain.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
E.
Page 41, sir.
Yeah, I
The
know.
4th. Okay, sorry.
Just looking at something. Okay, we're on item
E.
E.
On me.
E.
All right, shoot.
Well, you have to read it.
The whole thing? Discuss and take appropriate action on FPLT 21-1666 plat of Cinnamon Shore South Unit 3, Block 1, lots 1R through 9R. An applicant is Mustang Island Development, Incorporated, property location 5800 Highway 361.
Thank you, Mayor. This and the next agenda item deal with, again, the planned unit development, Cinnamon Shore. It is a part of their phasing. And as we typically see, as new areas are become ready for sale and development, they bring us the platting. And this is what we have here, a larger tract that's now being divided into 6 lots. I think our project engineers behind for any technical questions, but this is again a fairly routine action that we've seen with a little bit more frequency. Was reviewed by Hanson Engineering, who acted in the capacity of reviewing engineer. They did approve, all of the utilities approved, planning and zoning recommended approval, and that is staff's recommendation.
Questions?
Motion to approve.
Second,
I second.
call the roll.
Yes. Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Seelock,
No.
Mayor Tim Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Yes.
Mayor Brianna.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, David, which one's the next one?
We were on F.
Yeah, discuss and take appropriate action on FPLT 21-1671.
That's what they told us, right?
Plat of Cinnamon Shore South Unit 5, Port of Cinnamon Shore 2, PUD. Applicant is Mustang Island Development Incorporated, property location 5800 Highway 361.
Thank you, Mayor. So as this document shows, this is a fairly large tract, not previously platted, brought to you for the same essential reasons as the previous. They are now preparing to develop and sell this property. So it does come to you for final plat approval. This was also reviewed by our various utilities with their approval and by our reviewing engineer, Hanson in this case, who also recommended approval. That was planning and zoning's recommendation, and it is staff's. And again, I'll offer up the project engineers who are here for any technical discussion.
Yeah, I guess my question is, I've had now in the last year, 4 instances of sewage flowing out in front of my home, most recently 4 days ago, I think. So how can the utilities constantly approve this? If one of the engineers can tell me this, I mean, I'd just like to understand that. How can you tell me that the utilities are okay to approve this to add more homes downstream from my sewer? I mean, I'm at a loss here, okay?
I understood.
I mean, how can you possibly say, oh, the engineers approved this? Well, I mean, maybe the engineer's wrong. Because I mean, I can have pictures if anyone wants to see what's going on, but.
Well, I will tell you, and I'm not expert here, but I've talked to Scott Mack, and the water department is already in planning and project
Putting
phase, putting another thing.
So do we have that put in place before we approve this?
Well, I mean, this is just a plat, sir. It's not, there's
I
not building
understand. Well,
permits.
then why is the utility on it then, is my point.
Right.
We've been through this before.
And again,
argument.
keep in mind, I can't put the engineers that are here to talk about the project and the platting because it is the water district, which is a separate entity, separate governmental subdivision that makes these determinations. And again, before it ever gets to this point, the water district has to establish that the capacity is there as they review these development plans. So I can't speak to
And the question
issue.
to the water district, like you're saying, on a replat is simply not any homes going there. It's just, hey, we're taking these empty tracks and breaking them up. But
So according to Scott Mack, and again, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but what he said to me was something to the effect of they have to have a certain demand in the future so they can plan for it and then they can build out what's the plan. So this
in
is
the future.
Well, I mean, this is like,
But I mean, we're having problems already.
okay.
I mean, that's.
So, well, this is going to be down the road. This is going to be down where the water tower is or a little bit further south. And it is planned is, this is what he said. I don't want to put words in his mouth. So God forbid that I misspeak for him. That they have to have a certain amount of like potential demand before they can actually build out the second water treatment plant. And part of that treatment plant will take water from town, and that's what they were working on.
That's my whole
where
point,
the
though.
angle is.
I mean, at what point?
And
do
you
we
were
say,
on the water
hey,
thing,
this
so
has to be done before this.
I mean, I'll be happy to
I mean-
we'll get we'll have a meeting with Scott and it's a valid question and we'll let,
I think
we
we're
just
in
have
an
no
unusual
control.
with the
Right.
number of STRs and with our community. We're in a very unusual situation where our peaks and valleys are very different than normal communities. So, I mean, we see huge increases. I mean, I've never seen sewage coming out of the front in my home on a Wednesday. Okay, I see it on a Friday and a Saturday.
You see
4
it all the
times.
time?
Huh? 4 times in the last year.
Was it after rain?
No, once was after Thanksgiving, interestingly.
but when you look at the number of homes here and when you look at the impact fees that each one of those will pay the water district, it's for that
I'm
capacity
in
and
complete agreement.
enhancement.
I'm just saying, when do we schedule things in different order, right? Do we get our infrastructure in place first? Or do we get the demand there and then finally catch up with infrastructure and have sewage flowing all over until that infrastructure is built?
Oh, my God.
I can show you the pictures. Unfortunately, I was out there kayaking in it.
Could I suggest you not do that?
Yeah. I'm still alive. I made it,
Yeah.
so.
Today.
All I can tell you is that with the water district being a sovereign entity, doing that analysis and capacity, we just our
No, yeah,
process.
I'm not, I'm
I know, I
trying to find
understand.
out, how do we get the water district involved? in
We-
this?
we have,
Because
so-
they're just rubber stamping stuff.
So
That's
we
what I see.
reached out to the water district probably about a couple months ago. We said, hey, we got a new assistant city manager, a professional planner coming on board in August. We're gonna, start the comp plan up and we're inviting all the utility companies to participate because we do want to know, it is a part of planning and grow out. And so we've invited the water district to, kind of belly up to the table with us and join us in our comprehensive plan rewrite that's going to kick off this fall. And, so because water and sewer is an important aspect, but I think in the meantime, what we could do is perhaps get an engineering analysis on why or what is the process or what is the reason behind the storm or behind the sewer getting inundated during heavy rainfall. And, is that a normal process? Is there something that could be done to keep the rainwater from infiltrating and
They need
overwhelming
risers
the
in
water
some
sewer
locations.
system?
They need to put risers to keep, because some of the sanitary sewer covers are below where rainfall would get onto 361.
Right, and that's happening in town also.
I don't know what was going on Thanksgiving. And there were
Yeah,
times
I've only
before that.
witnessed it in town during heavy rainfalls when I've witnessed it. So, but let us reach out to the water district and their engineering team.
See if they can get us an answer.
You can get that monthly flow chart from the wastewater,
Yeah.
the wastewater. But, when it rained that 15 inches in May,
We
we
didn't
didn't
have
get all the sewer back. So I'm thinking the difference between now and then was
number.
the name of the people.
Yeah.
here, Maybe 4th of July,
Right.
maybe that kind of deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen it before like that in the street
Oh, we had it all down there too.
on Alistair and.
Well, let's reach out to the water
That was
district and,
So that's my main
Yeah.
concern. Okay, I just would like to figure out, how are they calculating? What are their calculations? What
And
are
then
they
it comes down
based
to a safety issue for everyone
Health and
involved.
safety.
Yeah. health
I
and
would tell
safety.
you, Scott Mack is very informative and he's very, very friendly. I would invest, or I'd recommend to go out and invest 30 minutes and he'll probably talk to you an hour, just asking these questions. He's very knowledgeable.
So invest 30 minutes and I get an hour. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the way it works is how much do you want to know about water flowing? and
Probably
stuff?
more than
Wastewater.
Yeah.
Flows downhill 8 days on Friday. right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
He is a very nice guy. Either way, I'm still going to motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second.
call roll.
Mayor Tim Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Seelock,
No.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item F,
So we're gonna go on.
G.
Yeah, G.
G, I'm sorry. Second reading, amending chapter 12 licenses and business regulations, article 8, short-term rentals, providing for severance, reading and effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. So we incorporated the change from the last meeting, which was the signage, the specifications and the 3x5. But on 12-252, we tweaked a little bit, just the definition of sleeping room to make it comply with the residential code, because the way it was worded, it could allow a sleeping room that we didn't really intend to be a sleeping room by simply meeting dimensions. And there's other criteria, an escape opening. And so we didn't want people to use that and create a bedroom where there shouldn't be. So that's the only new item, and that's 5 under 12-252. And we just took out the minimum room dimension. It just made it applicable to all. It had to meet all adopted codes, which is a whole lot more to be a bona fide sleeping room. Other than that, it's with the changes regarding the signage is exactly as it was last reading.
A motion to approve.
Second,
A second.
call roll.
Councilmember Krueger,
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Seelock,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Holt,
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes.
And just a quick note to council, we're gonna have the RFP finalized Monday and to the jetty.
Thank you.
So RFQ. So for the RFQ for the third party STR rental help. So we get it to the jetty Monday. We were thinking probably 3 weeks of advertising it. We were hoping to get maybe 3 to 4 good.
We've got some people to reach out to.
Yeah, so
Sure
we'll
they know
also
it's up.
send it to some people too, but we're hoping 3 to 5 good
So
responses.
for the August meeting.
And then, then staff will analyze it for a couple weeks, get it to council either at the August meeting or at least by the early, we have that early budget. Yeah, we have that one too. So we'll target August, but if not, we'll do that early September one.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that something that us as council members can be involved in, is looking at some of these?
Yeah, I mean, it's we'll do a staff one and then we'll get it out to you guys real quick so that
Okay.
you guys can get your own good.
So we
review
want some time to be able to digest that.
You bet.
Okay.
Number K, sir.
Okay. General discussion and possible action amending chapter 14, mobile home and mobile home parks of the Port Aransas Code of Ordinances.
So this one, council, this was part of the discussion that you guys did in June. It went to P and Z. It was kind of really, there was no real consistency on it, so we didn't attempt to codify anything and bring you guys a change. It was kind of anywhere from just leave it alone. Some of the comments were if you try to tweak it, it might push these vacationing RVs to the beach if you didn't allow RVs with short-term rentals in them. So we just put this in here as a discussion item for you guys to bounce around, and then you guys could direct council as you wish.
I mean, my opinion is kind of let it go to,
Well,
can't think now.
The comprehensive plan.
Yeah, comprehensive plan, thank you. Is let it just go cut to comprehensive plan.
Sure. Well, I just want to throw out there, I think that, as Ms. Jordan Winters did say, housing and affordable is going to be an issue. And I do know that for this Palladium, they're going to require background checks and credit checks. And I know that a lot of the people who work here won't pass those. And I don't know if that's a total thing. And I do know that RVs have been a I hate to say the word affordable, but a affordable living thing for people who maybe not here forever, but want to come here and work. And so right now, the limit is 2 acres and there's not a lot of 2-acre properties in town. I would like to possibly look at maybe making or allowing this north of 1A, but as a 1 acre, but limit it to long term. Now, there are some pros and cons. Rick told me something about they're limited to what, 180 days, what FEMA recommends.
Over 180 days becomes problematic for an RV.
They have to be roadworthy, road ready.
Be permanently occupied, which still means that they really shouldn't be permanently fixed because then they can't move quickly.
Okay.
Remember how many skeletons we had?
Well, I mean, so that's the flip side is, I will say that we had Hurricane Harvey and it jumped up on us pretty quickly. With that being said, yes, some of these RV parks got destroyed, but there was no loss of life. So as far as like getting people off, that's a legitimate concern. But I think that, you know, normally you get a notice ahead, those people can get the high vehicles off out of town before everybody else starts evacuating. Anyway.
But some of them couldn't go.
Well, someone couldn't go, but the people were able to get off and we didn't lose any lives because of that.
We did not get those mobile
And there
homes off.
was one fatality.
But it was not in a mobile home, it was in a house.
Right.
And what I realized that, you know, houses blow away or RVs blow away. We also had a lot of houses that blew away during the hurricane as well. So I don't know if we're gonna solve the problem tonight, but I would like to at least y'all to consider at least allowing RV parks at 1 acre north of 1A, but limit them to long term. So
Is it something you guys feel needs immediate attention, or is it something you guys are comfortable with the comp plan addressing?
Bruce, since you brought it up, what's your thought on it?
Well, this has been something that I have felt strongly about since I've got on council. The downside is a lot of people don't want to be next to an RV park.
Well, like
because they
Rick
look
has
at,
that horrible experience.
well, I will say that, you know, good fences make good neighbors. And, you know, but I will say the flip side is, you know, no one wants a cell phone in their neighborhood, but everybody wants a good cell phone reception. So it's got to
Tower,
go
you mean.
somewhere. So
Well, we might think about things
Do you
about,
have a location?
I don't, but I mean, right now at 2 acres, basically there's nowhere in town they're going to be.
well, at Charlie's pasture.
They
So-
can't be in Charles.
Well, Port Street.
Port
So,
Street,
yeah.
Port Street.
So
$300,000.
just here's a question then. Is this something that we can say anything that's under 2 acres has to be approved by P and Z and the council then?
Well, so here is,
I just don't, 1 acre.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
well, I'm telling you, so there was, someone submitted one under the flexible unit last year, 2 years ago. And part of the flexible unit was your neighbors get to have a say in it. And it was going to be on 11th Street. And I think they were going to do like 2/3 long-term, 1/3 short-term or something along those lines. And all the neighbors said no.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so that kind of tells you something, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but I mean, that's, you know, like I said, everybody, no one wants a cell phone tower in their backyard, but everybody wants cell phone reception. So I know this is the downside. People don't want to be near them, but you know, it's like no one wants to be near a short-term rental either. So, but the flip side is we have no, other than Palladium, you have no affordable housing for any type of workforce. So it's
Except
kind
the
of,
ones that are there.
which is
already.
a lesser evil, an ugly RV park or no people to serve you when you go or no people who
Aren't
work
there
in your store.
spaces available now? Or- I can't get served anyways.
So-
Doesn't matter. I can't get in anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just,
I go
I'm not,
Carpus.
yeah, we're not going to solve this tonight. I would like y'all to think about this and say, hey, you know what? You're right. We really need workforce housing, or no, we really, that Port Aransas is too pretty.
We
But just,
need workforce housing, but do we need trailers?
well, I will tell you, just looking at the last survey for real estate, the average selling price is now 659,000 and 41% of the lots were over $500,000. So no one who's working at any of the restaurants, that is not affordable.
They can add to the ADUs. Well,
Yeah, well, I mean, if they can, yeah. I'm just saying, we're not gonna solve it tonight, but I think this is something that we really need to look hard and long at, and this is where this is why y'all make the big bucks, this is where you get to make a decision, and half people are gonna love you and half people are gonna hate you,
Oh, yeah, that's
so.
correct.
So what half do you want to love you?
Well, Mayor, like I said, I've told you before, I have
His
been,
wife.
exactly. this is something that I have been pushing for since I got on council. And no one ever, a lot of people are like, no, we don't want RV parks in Port Aransas. They take away from the value or it is a less affluent crowd that lives there. So.
What can, just put it on a comprehensive plan?
Yeah, I mean,
I'd
you can.
suggest that.
But then it
What
has to
item
be,
That's
Item on the comprehensive plan.
Well, it'll be when they
It's a
review,
that's 18
chapter
months down the
14.
road.
I think the comprehensive plan is.
I think it's a place for it.
Yeah.
maybe we should have a workshop on
Yeah.
that as well. Workshop on how to provide housing for people.
Well,
that
you're
work
gonna
here.
have it when our guy gets here August 9th. And I would suggest just hang tight. Let's let him get here, kick this thing off, and it'll roll into place.
You're gonna
Start
have
him
a-
off right.
Oh.
Next year, you're gonna have a number of workshops. not
Yeah,
just one.
we're gonna be
A whole
workshopped to
lot
death.
of them. Yeah, but
But it does seem like it's pretty critical to get housing for a workforce somehow.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, y'all can think about it. If someone wants to bring it up another meeting before the thing, that's fine as well.
Sure.
This is just something I want y'all to think about.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bruce.
We'll definitely think about it.
Okay, next item is what?
L.
Oh,
I don't have anything in mind.
Yeah, it says
No.
general.
No, it's
discussion.
not. It's just,
Discussion on.
Tim was gonna come in and talk to staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think tonight, a number of residents brought this up.
Yeah.
Oh, 10 minutes.
Yeah, submitted pictures. I mean, I have some on here that, I mean,
I went around after you brought it up.
and
I found multiple
Yeah,
instances.
it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
But
It's
isn't
gotten
the
worse than,
solution to get the owners and the people that rent to do it, can
no,
clean it up and
I
take care of
think-
it?
I think part of the solution is to increase a minimum number of toters or base the number of toters based on the occupancy.
Well, you heard tonight that I have to come into town.
Right.
yeah,
Well,
it's,
I mean, that's
let me just give you
ridiculous,
a little bit of
so much
background.
So
So,
we did just that. So I mean, that's just
Yeah,
kind
maybe
of,
discussion. on
so Republic, we've been in very close conversations with Republic. They are struggling big time. Their volumes, the volumes from like especially in the commercial dumpsters, they're seeing double the volumes from previous summer. So the problem is that, they ramp up and stage their employees based on what they've seen in the past, and they're just getting, it's not working. So they're having to come, fill up, drive to Robstown, offload, pray they can get back through traffic and back into Port A to do another round of collection so that that individual commercial truck that's collecting the bins, the commercial bins, that he can come back and get 2 rounds. On Saturdays and Fridays, he's hitting so much traffic coming back from Robstown, he's not getting back into town for a second run. So that's one problem on the commercial end. So the question begs is, do some of the commercial entities need to add another round of collection, because you can sign up for 1, you can sign up for 2.
And they have.
So some of the commercial people are not getting great service, number 1, because Republic is missing them. 2, some of the commercial entities perhaps need a larger number of pickups during the week because we're seeing a huge demand on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays that we have not seen in previous summers. So we're getting all this. So what worked as far as your trash on, in the last 3 summers isn't working this summer. So that's the commercial side. So we got to get with Republic, got to get with owners, figure out how much more service is needed, and figure out, one idea from Republic was we're going to have to start staging commercial trucks out here so that once they run back into Republic, we don't see that truck again, but there's another one here already taking its place. So we got to do our homework and figure out how we can combat the, two things, the more trash and traffic, number of people. That's the commercial side. On the residential side, same thing. We're seeing a lot of the rentals that would usually sit empty on a Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. They're now full. So those trash cans that are already full from Sunday, from the weekend, those people leave on a Sunday, and usually that trash would just go out to the road, and that house would sit empty, and it would come and get picked up on a Monday or Tuesday, depending on where it was. Now we're seeing those houses are being occupied Sunday night with a new group, and lo and behold, boom, by Monday morning, there's 2 more bags of trash to put in that already full toter. So the demand is just the demand is just kicking Republic's butt.
Well, can they?
And mechanical failure.
And they have.
Well, so I mean, the question is, long term, are they even capable of handling Port Aransas anymore?
They're the biggest game in town.
Oh, I know, but I mean, but if they're having mechanical problems, all this other stuff, I mean,
yeah.
They can't get trucks because of this silly chip shortage.
Right.
Yeah, they're struggling with an older fleet that they're having a problem rotating in and getting new equipment. I mean, usually Republic is, in the past, has been pretty spot on rotating equipment out, getting us new equipment. This year, COVID has definitely given them problems too in getting them new fleet.
Dave, can you work on schedule? Can they come at earlier in the morning when there's no traffic and they don't have to worry about things? So instead of picking up at 6 in the morning, they come at 3 in the morning.
No, they're limited by
all the people partying at the short term.
At 3 o'clock, they passed out.
Bruce, they're limited. If you look in chapter 9, sanitation, commercial pickup, they're regulated.
But I mean, that's something that we can change here to make the.
Yeah, you guys could.
To fix that.
And believe me, you'll hear it too.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I mean, you're gonna hear a noise, you're gonna hear about trash all over the thing. One of them is an inconvenience and the other is a sanitary
but I
issue.
think if you follow what Dave was saying about the staging, what's the problem with staging trucks here then? I guess
well, them getting the trucks to stage.
that's
And getting, it's an extra driver. So one driver comes out, stages the truck. He switches with the other guy, makes the run to Robstown. So there's some logistics there.
Well, I talked to Mike Reeves yesterday. He said he's in charge of 42 cities.
Yeah.
Well, how about-
Republic is, I mean, there's Republic and then there's Allied Waste and.
Well, Dave, can we do
BFI?
something else? Can we put some big monster toters out at the dump, and instead of having to drive all the way to Robstown, they go unload at those toters at the dump and come back and pick up more and then take that toter out on a semi once a week or something?
Well, that's what the city does for the Citizens Collection Station. I don't think the Citizen Collection Station is permitted in the state of Texas to operate as a commercial waste transfer station. I could look into it, but I'm pretty sure we're not allowed to do that. That's why it's designated a Citizen Collection Station. It's the lowest tier sanitation collection operation
It
in
seems
the
like that
state.
might be a solution where instead of trying to have, a fleet of 3 pickup trucks driving back and forth to Robstown every day, they just load into one big container and haul it off on Monday or Tuesday when the road traffic is
so
low.
what's our hour?
Okay, so real quick, 7 a.m. And believe me, we hear it. When that truck shows up at
I hear it
6:30.
as well, but I hear it and think, wow, thank God they got my trash.
I mean, they've asked before in the summer for special, it says, hours operation, collection of commercial refuse shall not start before 7 a.m. Exceptions to collection hours shall be affected only when the city reasonably determines that an exception is necessary in order to complete collection on an existing route due to.
This sounds exactly like
So we've given them permission in the past to start early.
I mean, I think this is I hate to say it, a no-brainer. I mean, but
yeah,
I mean, I know
that's one of the ideas. So it's still.
But I mean, I understand that it's going to affect people, but we've got to get trash out of here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's going to be a summer issue where You know, they don't need to be out there 3 o'clock in the morning in November.
No, it's, you're right. It's a summer issue.
So what do we need to do to give them permission
So
to
you're
do
gonna
this?
get
I can do it myself.
I take it out before I go to bed and leave it.
But we do have a lot of
to it.
coordination work with
Mhm.
Republic to do on figuring out this staging idea. Because the volume is
Are they gonna
surpassing
start
anything we've
charging
ever
more
seen.
money, or do they get enough from all this?
Well, technically, they get paid by the pickup, not by tonnage. So,
So if you have two toters, you get paid twice as much.
right. So, what's happening in the commercial end is that you'll have a whole bunch of bags staged around a bin because it's too full. They'll dump the bin and they do not get out and throw the other bags in the bin. That's not their job. Their job is to go to the next bin. Then the owners come out and then they're quickly filling up that bin with all the bags that were surrounding the bin. So it's, and then there's no capacity for the next 3 days of people that are throwing all their waste in there. So it's a volume issue that we were trying to wrap our heads around, and it's just been kicking our butts.
I mean, so if we moved it, let's say to 5 a.m. for commercial, would that then allow them to get their 2 trips in per day?
I would have to get with them and see how quick they
Why
could.
don't we look into this and come up with a solution?
And are you still thinking about having short-term rentals have to have two?
Well, I mean, this is just about,
Yeah, that's just the commercial and
Commercial
logistics
side.
end.
but now we can move back to
Yeah.
the STRs. I mean, my personal opinion is that based on the size, you know, the number of bedrooms, our capacity, you know, they have additional toters as, you know. So obviously, if you have a 2-bedroom that sleeps 8 people, and you have 1 toter, and then you have a 6-bedroom that sleeps 24 people and have 1 toter, that's, you know, there's an imbalance there.
Right.
I mean, I understand it's an additional cost, but having a business is, you know, you have those costs.
Places that are gonna have 2 toters usually have a ton of cars and the truck's not gonna be able to get.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's the other issue is, you know,
So what is the minimum requirement? Is it 1 pickup a week? Is it 2 pickups a week?
No, we get 2.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about for the blue bins for.
For the
like a
toters,
short-term-
it's two a week.
Okay.
Even if you add extra days, we manage 3 HOAs, we've added extra days, they don't pick it up, they skip it. So we get picked up on Monday, we're supposed to have a Wednesday and a Friday.
Yeah, we've been seeing that a lot too, just because of the volume so bad that they're not finishing routes. And just like, for example, this week, they had a mechanical on Monday. So only 1 truck came out instead of 2.
They had one on
Then
Wednesday.
Tuesdays got skipped, and then Wednesday they brought out 2 trucks to go back and collect Tuesday. And when one of the 2 trucks got out here Wednesday, it broke down.
So Dave, why don't you ask them what the best way to solve this is? Is it earlier pickups
Yeah.
or is it staging trucks? And then I would agree, I'd go with earlier pickups as well during the summer, which is the only time we're gonna need it. If staging trucks works better, let's go with staging trucks, but let them figure it out. You know?
Monday's such an
That's what
important
I'd say.
day not
That's-
to miss.
I know.
You're right, especially now because you have people in those rental units Sunday night,
Yeah.
whereas before they'd sit vacant.
In the restaurants, I mean, that Mondays are just
Yeah.
huge.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we still haven't resolved the issue with toters, with blue toters. I mean, to keep going back to the commercial side, I mean, I
Yeah.
think we need to really.
Well, I think it commercial, he's talking about like HOAs or whatever.
Right, no, but I'm
That's
talking
still
about-
all commercial.
No, but I'm talking about blue toters, like the actual residential ones, because a lot of STRs have a blue toter.
Mhm.
You know,
We have one over there by us that has 1 trash can for 3 condos.
That don't work.
No, it doesn't ever.
Does Republic require a toter for the entire year?
So
if we
the
said that
city
the
does,
STRs
the rule is, if you have water and sewer,
Mhm.
you have to have a toter.
but if we said, hey, STRs have to have two, would it have to be for the entire 12 months?
No, you could say additional total requirement, Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yeah.
And some of them do that. Some of the smarter ones will know to come in and, some of them just get it for the whole year and that second toter just sits empty and doesn't do much. Some of them know to come in and get it for 3 months and then they come in September and cancel it.
Okay, so that is a possible, I like that as a better option than,
I hate to have an extra expense for people.
Right.
And like you mentioned too, it's just extra trap, whatever, to work. Another big toter sitting there, right? So it's an eyesight.
Do they let them sit out there where you live?
So basically do a seasonal,
No, we have to put them in the back. We have to
require
Do a seasonal requirement.
seasonal requirement. So let's have staff.
You want us to bring you back something like that?
That would be great.
At the August meeting, a second, an
Seasonal.
additional total requirement seasonally made to September.
That'd be great.
And the advice of the
And then,
pickup.
Yeah, and let's see if we can get that more consistent, because I will say that I got a nice letter from Victoria, and I'm sure y'all did
Yeah.
as well, Spencer, about how they're not picking up and it's causing problems.
Yes.
Well, Rick Tenon said they can't get through his.
Yeah.
So too many cars parked.
Leave those totes out on the street all week.
Yep. Well, now you have two out in the street all week.
Yeah.
That's the concern, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
so
what I
it's-
got against
I know
having-
that there's a concern, but I mean,
The management company. should
Can't you
sure
make
they
the
get
management
the-
Well,
company
now,
pick 'em
there
up?
you go.
Yep.
That's what our management company.
There you go. That's our
We have
third
to have
party.
people out.
Yeah.
It's done by the management.
Right.
There's
Right.
drive down A here.
Right, because they are.
Toter pickup.
Because they're not there.
You'll find them all over the street, in the middle of the street, everywhere else.
You don't need cars parking on the sidewalks. They can't walk down.
all right.
I don't worry about toter.
Bruce has got to get going here in 12 minutes.
Yeah, we're all good. It's all good.
He's got a date.
Item N.
Okay, yeah, Mayor.
Him. Resolution awarding request for a proposal RFP for the construction of Sandcastle Drive beach showers. Mako Contracting LLC in the amount of $82,545. Said funds approved in the fiscal year 2020 and 21 beach fund 150. Budget account number 62320. And authorize the city manager to act as the executive officer and authorize representative of the city in all matters pertaining to said bid.
So.
I'll give you guys a quick history of the beach showers. We started in 2009, we built the city's first beach showers at Avenue G. They were very successful. And then in the years following, we followed up with Beach Access Road 1A and then Beach Access Road 1. Then we partnered with the county and did a set into Lantana. And then the county did their own, copied our design and did a set down in front of the county park building. So Sandcastle is one of the last major streets aside, Beach and Cotter that does not have one of the shower sets. So what the design is kind of stage it like it is. So it's on the outbound side of the road. So when someone's exiting the road, they have the shower option there. Water's coming down from Sandcastle and it'll be the same design. It's like a 4 shower head setup with 2 changing rooms on the end. So it's our standard setup.
So assume one that GLO has approved all this and there's.
Yeah, this is the one that GLO came out and said, well, you need a lease. You need a ground lease. And we said, well, you've never made us do that on any of the other ones. And they said, oh, you need a lease on those too. So now we're going back and getting ground leases. Lantana's county property, so we didn't need it there. But now we're going back retroactively and getting ground leases for Sandcastle, G, 1A, and 1 from our friends at the GLO. Yeah, you approved the Doom permit.
I got a question though.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the bid amounts and one of them is $270,000 and the other is $82,000. And while I appreciate that, is Mako Contracting actually gonna be able to do that? Or-
Well, that was.
Yeah, they are.
Or the
This-
flip side is why is the bid so far out of whack?
The first one was just someone going for the home run swing, hoping they were the only bidder, but that 82,545 number is pretty decent. We haven't done one in about 7 years, and they were in the high 60s, low 70s. So I think this number's good. This 82 number's good. Plus, it has a higher, the water line coming down is a little bit harder to get to.
So the other question I have is,
Yeah.
since we're continually having issues with material increases, have they bid this appropriate?
Yeah, it's bid appropriately.
I mean, so
Yeah,
they're not
it's
gonna
good.
come back and say, oh,
No,
No, they might, but
no.
I did hear that wood's coming down a little bit.
Okay, well, I mean,
Yeah.
I hear that too, but you never know. Okay,
Yeah.
so I
Our
wanna make
number's
sure.
good.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
And this was a budgeted item, correct, Darla? Yeah, budgeted in the last year's budget.
This comes out of,
What did we put in it? Yeah, we put in 100, so,
this comes out of beach fund, doesn't it?
yeah, this comes out of
So
your
it's-
magic
Magic Hot Fund.
pot, 100%.
Make a motion.
Yeah.
to Approve.
I second.
Call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay,
Number N, sir.
item N is a resolution approving change order 2 for the high pressure gas main replacement awarded to Equex Energy Services LLC by adding additional fees in an amount of $211,200 for unforeseen conditions and conflicts,
So
authorizing future budget amendments for years 20 and 21 budget, and authorizing the city manager to sign all documents associated with said change order.
So, I mean, this was a professional company that bid on
Yeah.
this, that knows how to do the project, but now they're coming back because they didn't understand the scope of the project.
No. Actually, it's really a design, more of a design issue. So what's happening is
I got another
yeah, go
question.
ahead.
So when does the engineering company become liable for design mistakes?
Yeah.
They don't, because if they would have designed it this way in the beginning, they would have put that number in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so what you're seeing is instead of doing open trenching where there's enough space from the existing, so what this project is doing is they're putting in a new steel line adjacent to the current operating high-pressure gas line of the city. In most places, they have enough separation. This is a very tight corridor that we're trying to get this line in the TxDOT highway. So we have very little room to work with. So where we have the separation, where we have a couple feet from the new line to the existing line, we can trench that. But where the old line has all these, as it goes down to 8 miles, it's not just this perfect straight line. It's doing this. It's weaving in and out. And on the cities, and when the engineers initially mapped out the line, they try to get the best locations they can, and they put that line in their drawings as best they can. But when they start digging out in the field, that line may not be right here. It might be 18 inches over this way. So what's happened is that the line in the field is migrated over closer to where the new line is supposed to go in. So now they can't open ditch it anymore, because it would most likely, it would cave in, the old line would fail, and if we lose gas to the city, it's a major nightmare.
Sure.
So whenever we're too close to trench, we switch to boring, and the boring is a lot more money. So what this change order is a change order in the style of construction, going from open trenching to boring. Now, your question, oh, it's the engineer's fault. Well, if the engineers knew that line was there, they'd have put boring in the contract, and the price would have been $211,000 and $200 more. So you really can't blame someone if
Well,
it
not,
would have
not
been
blaming, but
designed.
just like when you
Yeah.
design something and you have, you like, we're gonna design this house and the house, one beam is not strong enough. When does when's it become a fault of the designer? Next question, is this FEMA money?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So it doesn't really matter.
Well, we're on the
Well,
hook for
25% of 10%.
10%. So 25. So 50K, and then we're on the hook for 20%.
How much is it?
We're on the hook for about
5,000.
Yeah.
It's gotta be done.
Oh, it's got.
No, it's gotta be done.
We're not
Yeah,
arguing
yeah,
that. I mean.
Right, I mean, but just.
No, it is FEMA. It's
Oh
a,
my
it's
gosh,
a, it'll be a
talk about stuff
FEMA,
like
it's a
this.
FEMA approved change
I
order.
mean, you gotta do it, just do it.
Well, no, but it's
I
it's
make
just.
a motion that we approve this.
Yeah.
Second.
It's a legitimate change order.
Yes.
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 Yes. Oh, Protus.
Leo had a COVID contact scare, so
Oh.
he's on isolation.
And we can't do a Zoom for anybody anymore, so I was sent the notes and can give the broadest report
Yeah.
if you,
We can't
if
do
you'd like.
Zooms anymore.
Well, we can still do Zoom, but it was just a little late.
Yeah, it was a little late.
Oh, we just got kind of a late notice from
I don't
Leo.
think we can do, I don't think the state's allowing the
Go ahead,
hybrid
go through
meetings
the
anymore now.
report.
So
We
I'm
can.
here to present his report. He emailed his notes. The fire station is still in FEMA technical team review. Public safety is at FEMA review and costing. The Charlie's Pasture Bulkhead Sidewalk Repair Project was advertised today, last
Yay.
night.
Out to bid. So that's,
It's out to
that's
bid.
that's the elevation of the bulkhead. So that's raising it up 3.5 feet. The new sidewalk, and then, so you're gonna see an elevation change. If you drive out there now, it's kind of just like a grade all the way over to the Nature Preserve Road. So now you'll have a grade difference between the road and that bulkhead area. So then they transition down with material down to the existing Nature Preserve Road. So this is a big one. This is about 7.2 million, but if you've been out to Charlie's Pasture, it is just, it looks like a
Dangerous
war
as can
zone.
be.
And so this is gonna fix all that. It'll fix it. So the bulkhead project goes from kind of like that place they call the Flounder Hole next to just west of Porpoise Point down to the rock transition. And this also includes, if you've been out there lately, we spanned this break. Let me just show you real quick because this is part of the project, but if you look at the preserve, so here was the bust through when all the water came into it. We flooded from this direction, came from Corpus Christi Bay into the city, and then it swashed in, and then it started backing all the way out. And when it backed out, it came back around this corner and just ripped right through here. And if you go back in time, to show a little history here, if you go back in the day, see this blowout. This blowout has been here since Carla, Celia. Here it is in 1979. All the storms that in talking with Dr. Watson, a lot of the folks at the Corps of Engineers, Port Aransas usually floods from this direction, comes in through the bay, comes into town, and then it starts, it hits there's a high ridge kind of right through town like this, kind of right around Beach Street, goes towards kind of Tarpon Inn. There's a high ridge and it usually doesn't crest that. And then it starts to roll back out. And as it rolls out, it's seeking low ground. And through the years, it has blown out right through these two blowouts. So that's what Hurricane Harvey did. It went right through the blowout, and it blew out, had so much energy, it blew out the bulkhead. So what we've done about 4 months ago, we started closing this back up. And we did it with FEMA dollars, and we did what was called the temporary bulkhead project that was approved by council. And it came in, and if you go out there and walk, you can check it out, but it's a metal system. It's steel that ties across, and it closed this gap. Now, this gap up here is still open. This is a GLO, General Land Office Harvey project. They cannot start it until we get this one built and they can drive across this area. So stage one or phase one of this project is complete. We did the temporary bulkhead. This project that's going out to bid right now will come in and it'll build out in front of this area, in front of the temporary steel works, and it'll re-solidify this, it'll reestablish this area right here. Then we're still fighting FEMA. FEMA does not want to pay for filling this void back here. So that is still to be determined what that ultimately is going to look like. Is it going to be just a new lake, or is FEMA going to let us?
Well, GLO's never going to get it fixed then.
Well,
if they can.
well, GLO will be able to get their repair in with this next phase. So they'll be able to come in, and they could come in by barge and do that repair, because they're doing a whole lot of rock work along this whole rock revetment. And that's one of their things. So GLO could, if they had to, they could come in here by barge and do all their work off of cranes. So that is an option for them. They prefer to let us finish this phase right here and then be able to haul rock in via truck. What this is holding up, Joan, since you're our nature preserve person, if you go back in time and you'll see pre-Harvey, there's our beloved pavilion right there. And the nature preserve trail goes right through the area that is blown out. So FEMA says, the rules of FEMA are, build your damaged project back in its original position. Well, there's the original, there's our trail, right? There's our missing trail. So FEMA, in their infinite wisdom, said, well, that's not our problem. You know, that's your problem. And they don't want to rebuild the trail. And they don't want to fill it. And then if the city attempts to reroute and change the location of the trail, FEMA steps in and says, oh, that's a new and improved project, and we're probably not going to improve or approve a new and improved project because we want you to build it back where it was.
So Dave, I haven't really.
So we threatened that we're going to build a bridge.
You would have been proud of David in that meeting. Just let me interject that.
Yeah, we told them, great, we'll build $1 million bridge where the trail was, and you guys can pay for your original location. So unfortunately, our cool trail out to Salt Island, which used to kind of do this, is in jeopardy due to our friends at FEMA. So we're working it, we're trying hard, but this next phase, it does, if you've been out there, you see heavily damaged, the bulkhead got there was so much water coming overtopping the bulkhead here during the storm, especially after the winds kind of clocked around and started coming out of they shifted from kind of northeast to the west. They really came over this whole section and really tore it up good. So this phase elevates this entire section 3.5 feet, and then which helps us with ship weight problems too on the side, and then gets us new sidewalk, and then they rebuild, all this dirt area in the back here, but between the bulkhead and the road, that all gets regraded. So engineers estimate $7.2 million.
Is our citizens allowed to comment? Because I think Leslie had something to say.
Well, I got something to say.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the big hole real quick?
Yeah.
So if FEMA is to fill that in, or not FEMA, GLO fills it in, we fill in, can we pump out that lake with just a pump?
Well, you're going to have the water table I mean, the water table out there's,
But then can we use that, tie that into the old drainage off of the thing and have a place for that water to go now when the city floods?
that'd be quite the Romanesque aquifer.
I know.
I don't know. That's a long way to, I mean, if you're going that far, you might as well just go into the ship channel.
Just a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, does the engineering guarantee that 3 feet is sufficient?
Well, if, I don't know if you recall, but about in 2014, the city conducted the, we were wanting to redo the city's 67 acre core permit for the 67 acre marina, which is right in this area right here. And part of what council approved was, hey, let's do a ship wake study while we're at it, since we're paying money to do some wave analysis in the ship channel. Why not throw in the ship wake study? And the port wanted us to do that also. And the port said, hey, if you guys ever want to rebuild Charlie's Pasture, we want you guys to conduct a study to prove up, because we've had 3 lawsuits there from ship wakes overtopping Charlie's Pasture fishing pier. So we conducted the ship wake study in 2014, and the ship wake study, which was done by Mott Hatch McDonald, who does most of the modeling in the Corpus Christi ship channel. Their determination was a 3.5 foot increase would, it's nothing's 100%, but a 3.5 increase in elevation would help eliminate most of that impacts from overwash.
Also, because of the grade difference now, it's 6 inches shorter, is the road gonna be lake?
Is the road, well, part of this project has a whole bunch of drainage behind the bulkhead near the road that will currently, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a whole bunch of, let me see if I can find one. There are culverts in various places. Let me see. You usually can't see them because they're covered in mud. But what they do, Candace, I think there's one right there. Yeah, there's one right there. So there's a culvert right there.
I see a lot of them.
Yeah, and what they do is those go through the bulkhead and drain out. So those are all being increased and improved and moved back. So they'll be closer to the road. So there'll be an outlet to drain the nature reserve road.
What happens when they cannot get back out after the next hurricane?
Blow it out probably.
Well, the interesting part was when the city built this rock revetment. The rock revetment came in 2009, and the rock revetment, it was designed by what was the engineering firm in Corpus? They've changed their name.
Was it HDR?
Yeah, it was
Mosley?
HDR.
Shiner Mosley then.
Yeah, Shiner Mosley. When Shiner Mosley designed the rock revetment, it was pretty interesting because they designed the top of the rock at I think 5.5 feet, but they dipped it down in 3 locations, and they dipped it down here, and then further down the island here. So because they knew that those were the historical blowouts. So they designed it to blow out. So it was originally designed to blow out. Now it's gonna, most likely, it won't blow out here. It's gonna blow out. It'll the next round, this will be too strong, and it'll all blow out in this area. This area here will be the blowout. But you want it to blow out. You don't want to hold it. Yeah. Yeah. So doubtful it'll blow out on the big side. It'll definitely blow out on the more western profile, because it'll still be the rock. And that's where it'll blow out.
We're not gonna have one, are we?
Let's see.
So that 7.2, that is an obligated, that's an obligated FEMA project, meaning that FEMA has approved it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, Dart.
No, no.
Did you forget where you were?
Yeah.
No, that was 3. Number 4 was Roberts Point Park Pier and Charlie's Pasture Pier. Those contracts have been signed, the notice to proceed has been issued, and the test pilings are scheduled for delivery September 1st.
Yay.
So that's when those projects should get started. The community park skate park repairs, we were awarded at the last council meeting to Barcom, and construction has begun. The high pressure gas system that you just approved a change order for is 70% complete. And the gas distribution system, is still under design and it should be complete by the end of the month. And the nature preserve is in design. And those are kind of the biggies to report on right now.
And those still kind of, we're still like
Battling
the
with
gas
FEMA.
system one, still fighting with FEMA over. Nature Preserve still,
The gas distribution has been designed.
still haggling
Or-
over some numbers.
The
Several
70%
times.
completion is all the way from down.
Is that 361?
Yes, sir. That's
entrance?
the high pressure one,
That's all the way down.
down to Fish Pass.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so the city's gas system,
So right now we're about at that overpass, the golf cart.
Yes, sir.
overpass,
We're getting
right
close
in
to
the
that. Yes,
middle. Okay.
So that's kind of the broadest report.
And,
you'll notice a bunch of the lines, Dave, you'll see them, they kind of do this. And then what they do is they go back in there, they'll trench those out, lower them, splice them together, weld them.
So the nature preserve thing is a 361 entrance? Is that the one that,
No, I think when they
What-
say nature preserving design, they're talking more than.
What they've allowed us to do, Joan, is divide the nature preserve into 2 projects. Because of the bulkhead breakthrough, and I'll draw it up here, they've isolated the Salt Island trail system. They've said, all right, this is phase 2. And that's the one that's to be determined because we're still arguing over the trail. What phase 1 is back on 361 is the old system that I used to call it Seahorse Island because that thing kind of looks like a seahorse. But it's reestablishing this trail that wrapped around and connected over to the Citizens Collection Station area. And then the rebuilding of the old birding center trail that went out into the water.
they're going to put another one over there.
Yes. So FEMA is letting us do these 2 systems in a separate phase 1. So they
That's
are.
the one that we're talking.
Yeah, so phase 1 is what we're trying to get out next. And we're thinking because of the nesting pair of cranes, we have kind of some time to burn because you would have to build this thing by October or end of
We've seen
October.
nothing looks
So
like
what
that.
we're gonna, so the plan is to get this thing all perfectly designed, bid it in January, sit on it until the birds are gone, and then give them a notice to proceed. And I think the date's April when the cranes are gone.
For sure.
Right. So that's the plan. So that'll be this phase here. That'll be this phase. And then we're still haggling.
The birding center.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
10 years later, we're still.
Nope.
Oh, boy.
Okay, item B is a resolution ordering a special election, establishing procedures for said election to be held on Tuesday, November 2, 2021. A special election shall be for the purpose of electing one council member to fill an unexpired term for City Council Place 2, making provision for the conduct of a joint election with various political subdivisions, and providing an effective date, providing other matters relating to the special election, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You're gonna let Fran off that easy without?
Absolutely.
Come on.
Call the roll.
Mayor Tim Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Seola,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Yes.
Mayor Beyond.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, item Q. Discuss and take action on appointing board members to the Marina Advisory Board. Find that over in section Q.
I would like to nominate Dee Wallace.
I was gonna go for Billy Gaskin.
D Wallace.
Two good candidates.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
Really good candidates. Both have a lot of knowledge.
Billy just said he's
Of the
still
marina?
busy, so he's
Yeah.
good. It's-
I say with D.
Mayor, what's
I
your
go with
preference?
D.
D?
Okay.
Dave?
Well, you got 4 there already, so
Yep.
I'll just
Yeah.
go with D. We got
All right.
5. So
Sure. I'll still go with Billy. They're all good candidates.
Yeah, they're real
That's
good.
it's a problem. I mean.
So what do we do? How do we
need a
do this?
motion on that?
Yeah, motion.
Motion to approve D, Dan.
A second.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Seola,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Holt,
Who?
Who?
Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Yes.
Mayor Beyond.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item R. Let's take action on appointing board members to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Motion to approve both applicants.
Second.
Councilmember Seola,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Mayor Beyond.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right.
Darla? Item S.
Item S is a resolution authorizing the submission of a Texas General Land Office grant application for state assistance in cleaning and maintaining 35,237 linear feet of public beaches abutting the Gulf of Mexico and located within the city's jurisdiction for the fiscal year 2022. Approve equipment list and rate sheet for fiscal year 2022. Authorize the city manager act as executive officer and authorize representing all matters pertaining to the participation in said grant.
Darla, are we sticking it to the man?
Are we what?
Are we sticking it to the man?
For about 115,000 a year.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Mayor Tim Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Seola,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Tim Park,
Yes.
Mayor Beyond.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Oh, we forgot. We got David, Mr. Caldwell. Never mind.
Don't start that.
How about T?
Hey, just staff reports.
I was gonna do, ledge update. So, don't know if you've noticed, but, the governor called for a special legislative session. Might be doing a whole bunch of them.
Bunches of them.
There's about, I don't know which is the one that, because if you look at there's about 15 different items. It's bail, it's the election is the main one, but bail reform, election integrity, border security, social media censorship, Article X funding. I'm not sure which one that one is. Family violence, youth sports, same sex, abortion inducing drugs, critical race theory.
I had to look that up. I didn't know what that was.
13th check and appropriation.
Nobody
So
else does. either.
evidently
They just vote.
a large portion of the Democratic House has fled. to DC, I think, or places out of the state.
Is Washington DC, there's no extradition to Texas.
Well, I think, I'm not sure they can be arrested, but
That's what the governor said.
I know that's
They
what
come
Abbott
home,
said,
they'll
but
arrest
I think they can be sequestered is
Yes.
a more
Keep 'em in
appropriate
there,
word.
Keep them in the legislature all the time.
He has said that he will just keep
They can't go home.
adding special sessions until they show up. So
But none of the,
I don't think we're watching any of these too close.
yeah, so none of the ones that we were worried about.
No, wasn't anything we
No
were tracking.
lobbying or.
Appropriations, that
Yeah.
might be important.
Yep, so that's that on the Ledge update. The only other item I have under my report would be if you guys want to save 14 days on chapter 21 and 25, you could call a special meeting, like, for example, the 29th of July. I won't be there, but I think you guys could handle it. And then you could approve it at the August 5th meeting that would be third and final reading, as opposed to the August 19th regular council meeting. So you could save 14 days if you guys are interested in that.
But can we do it on the Tuesday instead of Thursday? Because we're all gonna be in Austin. I mean, in San Antonio.
For the TM.
Oh, yeah. So
Can we
you mean
do it on
instead of
the
the 29th?
27th?
Yeah, you guys do whatever you want. I'm gonna be in
26th or
Alaska.
27th?
Well,
Y'all are going to the new beginners. That was the only good.
I just don't know I'm be available, but it doesn't matter.
Just need 4 of you. Okay.
26 or 27?
Let's do it. How about Fran send out some dates to you guys?
Okay.
But you guys are interested in it?
Yes.
Okay,
Let's do it.
so we'll have Fran poll you guys, and I will not be here, but you're
It's a
just
simple
gonna,
meeting. and
it's
we're-
gonna be we'll just put 2 items on it. Second reading of chapter 21, second reading of chapter 25.
Okay.
And then come back August 5th, we could do third and final.
Yep.
That'd be
And then you say 14 days.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, do it.
You good with that, Joan?
Yes,
Fran?
I'm just not
Okay.
sure.
Can I sit in your seat?
Just move your thing over here.
Just kidding.
David is gonna be.
Alaska,
Salmon fishing.
that'd be great.
Building.
And I'll be unfortunately
exactly how
out
I
of
feel.
cell phone.
Whatever.
Drop in the
I'll
water
be
the
in
first day.
no cell phone coverage territory, but I will be keeping an eye on the tropics.
There you go.
And calling on July 27th.
And I will be forwarding you Darla, Rick's, and Chief's numbers. So that you guys have 3 points of contact to make
This
while I'm
your
gone.
house real good.
Yeah.
Hey, darling, what can we spend money on while he's gone?
Yeah.
Nothing, I'm stricter than
Are you kidding?
I'm much stricter with
I have
that.
to crawl into her office and beg.
When are you going?
I leave Saturday morning,
For how long?
about 13 days,
Lucky dog.
I am very
with the whole
jelly.
family in tow.
Oh, that's
Very
great.
Off to
That is
Alaska.
great.
Okay, that's good.
Our old stomping ground.
Yep.
All right, Darla.
Okay, so you have your written report in the packet. I put the dais for each of you, the sales tax numbers, because they don't come in till the second Wednesday of the month, which happened to be yesterday. And so you did not have them in time for your packet. We just got them, and we did expect the number for sales tax to be very high compared to last year, because this is for the activity during the month of April. And April was the month that the state was basically shut down in total. So last year we only had 80,000 sales tax. This year we have 208,000. It is a 157% increase compared to last year. So,
But even compared
Even
to
The
compared
others,
to
yeah,
the prior-
that's fantastic.
right, even compared to the prior 4 years, it's almost doubled, but it is an
Does it
astronomical
include
number.
sales
the
tax
trash
from-
problems and the.
Well, I will tell you,
Yeah.
I will tell you that I went in Darrell's office and I read the paper and then we looked at this month as well. We beat Ingleside, we beat Aransas Pass, and we beat Rockport for sales tax.
Mhm.
So now granted, the golf cupper helps a lot, but I mean, it just show you,
That's not
all.
That's kind of a dead thing lately.
Okay, well, anyway, so
So there you go.
even then, we beat those 3 cities and those are much larger populations.
Off short-term rentals.
No, this is sales tax, ma'am. This is not short-term rental tax.
Well, they were spending money. Weren't
Well,
they?
they were spending money, yes, ma'am.
Weren't they? They were eating and drinking.
So the hotel
the
motel
golf
tax for the month of May was up 30, almost 39% for the month. So we're up 110% compared to last year. So, and as we've discussed a few times tonight, August 5th will be our first meeting, budget workshop. So you should have your proposed budget. That is a Thursday. Hope to have the budget in your hands the night of the 2nd. It's kind of, but that's when David comes back and we'll get that packet ready for you and get it in your hands for review.
Have lots of work for him when he gets back August 1st.
So
He's not gonna
anybody
come
has any
back.
questions?
Thank you, darling.
Yeah, good job.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Scott?
Evening, council, once again. You can, you tag along these monthly reports, you can see that we're really starting to spike. We're with our summer schedule. I can attest to how crowded it's been. Probably the two biggest things I want to point out is we did have that double drowning over the 4th of July weekend, and our surf rescue crews did a really good job trying to get the father out. Unfortunately, he succumbed, but they actually had, what, 2 saves the next day or a couple days after that.
Oh, good.
It doesn't always make the paper, but the successes are out there also.
Oh, that's good.
The council funds some overtime money for the police department, about $10,000 a year to target traffic enforcement on the highway, particularly golf cart enforcement. If you looked at our numbers, we wrote 80 citations. We actually wrote 91 citations. The court entered 80 of them for the month of June. The other 11 will reflect.
Well, the ones on the
victims.
sidewalks will not have been there too, right?
Then there's another 18 on the sidewalks, and the speeding's dropped off a little bit. We only had 38 speeding citations, but the problem is the highway's so congested, we can't turn around on the vehicles coming in, so.
Right.
So is that a free ticket to speed, sir?
Do what?
Is that a free pass to speed?
If you're in the middle of the pack, probably. If you're at the beginning or the end, when we got some room to turn around on you, not so much.
I appreciate you guys working on the golf cart situation. I'd like to see that to continue, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, we try to listen and follow through, and I want you to know that the funds you're using is very successful in addressing that. I would hope that the numbers will be dropping because there's fewer of them, but we're not seeing that.
Sometimes.
I actually have a question there. Just so the number here, it shows that 0 beach parking permit violations. Are we not checking that anymore because we're on the golf cart?
Well, actually, we just hired a guy.
I heard
our beach parking guy.
I hear he's doing a good job. That's why he's writing like this.
Just started last week, and I don't know if those. I don't have an answer for you. I don't know.
Sure.
But I know
Which number is that one?
It's number 06, no beach parking permit violation, 0 for this, and there were 7 last year.
Oh, no, he's the new guys.
He's doing a job.
He
He's
did
doing his
that
job.
he did about that in about an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he doing zero tolerance?
Does he carry tickets with him and sell them? I was just wondering though.
For $70 instead of 15.
We're targeting only the beach parking permits, and we're not, if they've got the permit, but it's not permanently affixed, we're not writing. So we're trying to.
Some people don't like to stick them on their windows. So
That
they
or
just
they're
lay
a
'em up
rental
there.
car and they don't want to put on the rental car.
Right. But other than that, yeah, it's
You
pretty
could
much
tape it
100%.
up there. though, right?
Okay, good. Thank you.
But it's a big number.
Yeah.
So just going back to him, he can do like leash law stuff also if he wants to.
Eventually, we have him only doing.
Okay, so
brand-
that's fine. I'm
Been
just
out there for a
questioning.
week and We're gonna walk before we run. so-
No, it's fine. I'm just was questioning what,
Yeah,
but he can do anything but move.
Technically, he could do the bottles and the litter
Okay,
and stuff.
so, but that's something that's things progress along that he'll be working on. Okay.
Yeah, we're
steps.
Our officers do most of that, so we're focusing on the parking. That seems to be the single
And
biggest
is he
issue.
on foot or not, Scott, or in a golf cart or on?
He's on a golf cart.
Yeah,
So.
I haven't seen him. Okay.
Yeah. Code enforcement has a golf cart that they're letting us.
Yep.
Letting us.
He's not doing
What
golf
days
on
is
the
he
beach.
primarily?
I have not gone.
He works every Saturday and Sunday
Oh, my gosh.
for a minimum of 4 hours, and then he works at, we want him working at least 20 hours a week and no more than 32.
Right.
So
Right.
Saturday and Sundays are given, and then the other days we're staggering around, so there isn't really a pattern.
Well, I was gonna say, so there's no
Or weather,
so
maybe.
it's just whenever.
Right.
So like when you say is he like actually scheduled, or you give him freedom to say, okay, go out at least 4 hours?
He's scheduled, but
Okay.
him and the sergeant put the schedule together the week before he comes out, so we know when he's supposed to be here.
All right.
And we double check that we're not getting into a pattern.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering, making sure we're not getting into a pattern. So, okay.
And he likes it. He's retired, and that gives us flexibility.
Right. That's,
Yeah, off time.
we want him to keep this job.
Right.
Yeah. As long as he does a good job, which I think he's doing from what I understand.
So
Good. All right. Thank you, sir.
And David, just one thing, but you mentioned about the drowning.
Yeah.
And I contacted you
Signage.
that I had a friend that was willing to pay for signage on the beach. So
Yeah,
is
so.
there signage going in or what's?
Yeah, so we just, so in between that time that we discussed, we had put out we had lost our surf lifeguard director.
Right.
So we just hired one from New Jersey. Really great resume. Had a great interview with him. He is in town and he got in, I think Tuesday, Darla? Monday night, and he's doing his screening work, and he will be maybe tomorrow, or when's his first day, you think? Yeah, so David, I'm gonna get with him and we're gonna go over a lot of signage stuff because he's the professional at it. But we'll circle back with you and keep moving forward on this. Colleen's heavily involved on it. We had an after action report with police, EMS, dispatch, lifeguards, fire, all the entities that were involved. So we got a lot of really good new signage ideas that we're gonna roll out.
We can do some integrated signs so we don't have like this.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I mean,
That's
the
what I
best
think,
thing we can do is get guards. Because signage, it's been proven in Hawaii and everywhere else, signage on unguarded beach, in which in this case, this was deemed unguarded because it was 1,200 feet away from the closest tower. Anything around 400 feet or greater from a tower is deemed unguarded. So the best thing we need to do as a city is develop a program that has success in getting guards on the beach. That is our ultimate success is going to come out of East Coast style, where you go to Ocean City, Maryland, and there's probably there's a guard tower go on Google. There's a guard tower every 500 feet for 12 miles, and you go look in Jersey and you look in the beaches in Florida. That's how the most successful beaches in the US have the big guard programs. And we need to get there, and we can get there. We have the funding. The funding is coming from the state. It's hot tax funding. It's kind of magic dollars. So we have the funding mexican. We just need to, and we have gained a little ground in the last month. I think we've had Fran, 3 new guard employees. How many new? 3. And then now we have our director on staff. He's a big proponent in developing a junior lifeguard program that feeds into your guard program. So you're training young kids how to be beach aware and be in the surf. They're not your lifeguards, but you have these junior programs that work in. So we're going to really ramp this up, Dave, and work on it. But we got some good ideas that came out of the after action report, and I'll circle back with you, but we are moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one in particular just hit a lot of people.
It
hard.
did. They always do, it's every drowning we've had, and we average about 1 a year. Last year, I don't think we had one, but One a year is bad. It's always, even though they're all out of towners, it always ends up being a kind of hitting close to the community. Because people, they
it's a bad
stick
look for the
around. They
town
want to
anyway.
find their,
Yeah.
they want to find their loved ones. Some of them, it takes 2 weeks to find them, and, the people get very involved with the community, and it happens in, Corpus has had a couple high profile ones. And it's never good. It's always sad. So our ultimate goal is to really build up, getting those eyes on the beach and getting guards and stands. That's the ultimate plan.
And this is a double whammy for a family, which
Oh, yeah,
something,
it's-
but that just, it was
Yeah.
heartbreaking when I heard the
Yeah.
news. So.
One more.
Ed.
Yeah, he's falling asleep over there.
145 calls for the month. We average about 80 to 100, so it's expected for the summer to be up, and no major issues we're having, but it did speak of the drowning. We did hold we had a group come in, critical incident stress management team come in that works with our local RAC, and they came in, did a counseling session. We sat down with dispatch, the lifeguards and EMS, and just made sure they didn't need anything on the support level. And
Yeah, it hit the guards hard.
really good. So it's something that we'll always do if we have any questions or issues.
Especially when you get somebody
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
think you got them out
Yeah.
and then they die.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and if anybody heard about the swimming pool drowning, the young girl reported she was good shape. That was a week ago.
Yeah.
And so it was a swimming pool.
Community
No,
pool?
one of the community pools went to one of the
Somewhere else?
RV parks. Yeah, so-
Okay.
But reported she's doing fine. So
Good.
in town, yes. Yeah. So.
And they're in their new home.
Yep.
On the library. We got some tweaks we need to do, but.
Yeah, but
it's-
otherwise, great. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
Is it working out for you guys?
Didn't
Okay?
leak.
Didn't leak,
It didn't
okay.
leak. I mean, that was a great, even a week of all that rain. So, does everybody
If
keep a
you'd have come
lookout?
in and said, Dave, the place, I would have think I'd have maybe done something myself.
But, yeah, it's going well. So, any questions for me?
Good job.
Thank you, Ed.
Keep up the good response time.
Yeah, we'll do.
I miss you being down the street from
You
me.
you don't hear those sirens anymore, sir?
Quick response.
Would you drive by his house when you go into a call next
Sure.
time, just to?
If it makes you feel better, we'll drive by and talk to the center.
Absolutely.
So, just a few more seconds. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
Ed.
all your work, sir.
Well, council comments.
That was council comment.
Yeah, that's
Take it
it.
back.
Nope,
Oh,
that was council
all right.
comment.
Council comment.
I do.
Have fun, I'm jealous.
Rick, Darla, Chief, or Ed?
Yeah.
For 13 days.
I have some comments.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Joan.
Sorry. With all the flooding, I'm really thinking that we should encourage green space and people to keep green space. And maybe with some kind of a tax break or something that we can come up with to make sure that, if it's there, they aren't going to build something on it just to try to make more money. And I know one place is thinking about that. And also, if we have parking more than 2 spaces, that other spaces should be permeable parking. So can we look at those kinds of things and think about that? And then the other thing was that I asked Francisca not to give us these big,
We're going to start condensing the.
yeah, and she was quite agreeable to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
So also I had a couple people email me about trying to look at the ferry permit for
The fast pass.
fast pass.
Ah.
They think they have enough people now, maybe that might do that.
I got
State
that.
law says 500.
Yeah, so they're thinking, well, these people might be.
But did you remember what the fast pass turned into?
Yeah.
Don't you?
No, what did it?
Well, there's no way, it's illegal to just make it a
Oh,
locals
yeah.
pass.
Yeah.
And basically it turned into a rich person's pass to get on the island quicker.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
if that's where you're wanting to go, That's the program
I
that's
just had a
offered by
couple of people
TechStop.
email me and ask
Yeah.
about it again.
Yes.
I know. and
How rich? I think it's
Well, enough to buy a $200 pass, whatever the pass dollar
Is
is.
that what it was?
It was something, but
It was $200.
That was 500, I thought, yeah.
They went-
yeah, maybe it was
They went
500.
the first,
Employers were going to pay for it for some people.
well, the first time it was 250 and then I think it went to 500 or something, but because CCMS was
Well,
gonna pay for it.
it started out because we had the thought that, hey, maybe it can be some type of workers pass, but it once TechStot stepped in, they said, no, it's a pay to play system. And when you start doing the math, who's using the fast ferry?
City
Yeah.
can't discriminate.
Yeah,
And in North Carolina, those people that live there, they get on there. I was waiting for one for 45 minutes and it was one more car and it was gonna be me. And here comes a local person.
and is it a local pass or is
Yeah,
it
no,
a
it's a
rich
local-
person's $500
It's a
pass?
local pass.
State-run ferry
Yeah,
or private?
no, it's a state. I mean.
City
for
could
most
buy a
people-
ferry boat and start running private.
Yeah, there you go. There's an answer to the problem right there.
Well, the best
It
thing
just
is
creates more problems
It's
for
just
Dave.
North Carolina, it's not Texas.
the best thing is to get on that bus and get across.
There you go.
I actually thought about buying my employees bicycles. I really have. I'm looking into it. They put them in the car, do the parking ride, get on the bicycle, ride across the ferry.
Right? I've
Ride
seen
up to the
people back
store.
back there and have rent a bike, dollars in.
Anyway, thank y'all.
All right, thank you.
All right.